At school, a bunch of students gather around gossiping about the latest scary sightings in their neighborhoods, talking about a doll flying through the sky and a 3-meter-tall half-snake woman, like they are discussing yesterday's weather. Apparently these things are being called terrors, which sounds dramatic enough to sell merch already. They invite a guy named Sei to join them in hunting these creatures after school, but Sei, being cocky and allergic to nonsense, tells them not to drag him into pointless fantasy quests. He brushes them off and heads home instead, already irritated by how popular the occult has become lately. Everywhere he turns, people are talking about phantoms and manifestations of fear like it is the new trending topic. He finds the whole terror craze ridiculous, and frankly exhausting, especially because his own sister is fully subscribed to the madness. When he gets home, he immediately finds her excited over yet another occult purchase. This time a balloon doll with a dog head that makes noises when pumped full of air. She proudly demonstrates the sound feature like she just unboxed cutting-edge technology, and he asks how much that ridiculous thing cost. She casually tells him it was 50,000 yen, which makes his soul leave his body for a second. That money was supposed to cover their monthly expenses, meaning they will now be eating budget noodles until further notice. Furious, Subai grabs the pump, overinflates the doll, and pops it right in front of her. He yells that she cannot keep wasting money he earns by slaving away at a part-time job just to fund her occult addiction. Instead of apologizing, his sister doubles down like a certified chaos gremlin and says occult matters are more important than rent. She confidently claims they can earn 100 times that money through terrors, pulling out a camera and explaining her master plan. Apparently the occult boom is real, and terrors are the materialization of fear, which means content gold. She wants to photograph them with her so-called spirit camera and upload the pictures online to monetize through ads. In her head, she is already a web celebrity funded by paranormal vibes. Sei, completely unimpressed, asks how much the camera cost, and she casually drops that it was another 5,000 yen. He nearly kicks her in the face, which she dodges, and he tells her not to come back home until she actually gets a terror picture. After that meltdown, Sei sits outside on the stairs, exhausted and overwhelmed by the responsibility of managing living expenses before he is even old enough to legally drink. He cries out of frustration, wondering why he has to deal with all this adult stress alone. If only his father were still around, maybe things would have been different. His father was a folk customs scholar, obsessed with the occult, who disappeared during a research trip, and his mother left soon after, unable to stand that obsession anymore. The occult tore his family apart, and now his sister is chasing the same rabbit hole. Standing up in anger, he shouts that people act like terrors really exist, as if saying it loudly will erase them. The universe immediately says bet. A creepy girl with an unsettling mouth suddenly jumps out of the bushes and runs across the road. Sei freezes, staring at her in disbelief because she matches the urban legend of Kuchi-sake-onna. According to the legend, she wears a mask, asks if she is pretty, and if you answer wrong, she slices you up with scissors or a cleaver. Sei's brain refuses to accept what he just saw because things like that are not supposed to be real. However, instead of running home like a sane person, he runs after her. He spots her leaving a store and smiling strangely, so he hides behind a wall and watches her head into a beauty parlor. He even thinks she might be arming herself, because apparently that is how his mind works now. After some time, she exits the parlor looking completely different, her appearance polished with makeup in style that dramatically boosts her feminine appeal. Subai stands there stunned, realizing how easily his imagination ran wild. There is no way Kuchi-sake exists, and clearly he just hallucinated something creepy. He convinces himself he has been acting pathetic this entire time. Just as he relaxes, she suddenly appears behind him and asks if he was following her. He turns around and awkwardly pauses when she asks if he was trying to hit on her. Somehow the situation escalates into them sitting together at a nearby restaurant drinking tea, and Subai does not even understand how he ended up on what looks suspiciously like a date. While sipping tea, he studies her and realizes she looks like a normal middle school girl. She lowers her mask, revealing a genuinely cute face, completely shattering his horror expectations. She asks his name and teases him about whether she was cute enough to make him approach her. Comparing her to the terrifying image of the legend, he honestly admits she is pretty cute, with charming clothes and hair. That compliment lights up her mood like someone turned on studio lighting. When the restaurant granny brings a hamburger, the girl smiles brightly and claims she is just happy because the burger looks delicious. Subai watches her and concludes she really seems like an ordinary girl enjoying a meal. Then she opens her mouth wide to take a bite. The sight makes him spit water in shock because that mouth is not normal at all. She quickly hides it with her hands and he points at her, declaring she really is Kuchi-sake. She stands and admits it, saying she is not human but the legendary Kuchi-sake-onna. Panic rises in him as he demands to know how she could seem normal and then suddenly transform. However, instead of attacking him, she starts crying. She explains that she was so happy because it was her first time being asked out by a guy and having a meal together. She apologizes for tricking him, saying no one wants to interact with a nasty monster like her. Hearing that, Sei sighs deeply and returns to his seat. When she asks if he will leave her, he says no. He hates the occult because it destroyed his family, but she did not choose what she is. He tells her to finish her burger since that is what she wanted. Just as she opens her mouth happily again, a robed woman bursts through the door like a low-budget exorcist with main character energy. She grabs Kuchi-sake by the hair and demands she show her true self. Sei defends her and asks who this woman thinks she is. The robed woman glares at him and asks if he wants to die, warning that Kuchi-sake is a monster who does not belong in human society. Sei slams his hand on the table and declares he does not agree. To him, Kuchi-sake is just a cute girl, not a monster. The robed woman ignores him and drags Kuchi-sake outside. Before leaving, Kuchi-sake thanks Sei and shares her sad story about how everyone fears her, which is why she dresses up nicely hoping someone might like her. In the end, she believes she is just a monster. Tears roll down her cheeks as she leaves, and Sei cannot stand watching her accept that label. He runs after her and boldly says he does not care about any of that nonsense, insisting she is just a normal cute girl. The situation immediately spirals. His sister is outside snapping photos of Kuchi-sake, while the robed woman tries to block the shots. When his sister calls Kuchi-sake ugly, Sei loses it and smacks her, saying Kuchi-sake's looks are better than his sister's personality, which is a violation on multiple levels. The robed woman panics and tells them to run, but it is too late. Kuchi-sake transforms fully into her terrifying witch form, pulling out her cleavers and attacking his sister. Sei suddenly realizes he may have oversold the normal cute girl narrative. They end up on a bridge, chaos erupts, the bridge collapses under the fury, and all of them fall straight into the river in absolute terror. Welcome to the terror era. Sei plunges into the river after getting dragged into Kuchi-sake's chaos, and the current does not show him any mercy. The water carries him far downstream, spinning him around until he can barely tell which way is up, and by the time he manages to fight his way toward the surface, his lungs are burning. The first thing he does is look for his sister, and to his horror he finds her floating helplessly along the river, completely unconscious. Before he can even process what to do, a strange man suddenly appears from the water like he owns the place, scooping her up effortlessly in his arms. The man's sharp pointed teeth flash as he smirks, and he casually tells C that if he is a human male he should worry about saving himself first. That is when it clicks for C that this is not some random bystander, this is another monster. At the same time, the robed woman emerges from the river as well, water streaming off her cloak as she immediately starts yelling at the strange man, demanding to know why he did not prioritize saving his master instead. When she pulls back her hood, Psycho's caught off guard because instead of some terrifying witch, he finds himself staring at a surprisingly intelligent and sharp-looking girl. He has no idea what kind of team dynamic these two have going on, but the sharp-toothed guy gives off the same unsettling energy as Kuchi-sake. The strange man glances down at Psycho's unconscious sister with a predatory grin and comments that she is quite thick, staring a little too long at her chest as it rises and falls. He clearly does not have his impulses on a leash, and he casually asks C whether a little bit would be fine, as if that is a normal sentence to say. C does not even understand what this lunatic is implying, but the robed girl immediately snaps at him, calling him a pervert and telling him he is embarrassing even her. The sharp-toothed man fires back that a little appreciation is harmless, then takes a cheap shot at her by mocking her for being flat-chested, which instantly detonates her temper. She grabs a rock and smashes it over his head without hesitation, then marches over and smacks C as well, telling him bluntly that she just saved him from getting carved up by Kuchi-sake. She warns him one last time that if he does not want to die, he should stop sticking his nose where it does not belong. After that, she storms off with the sharp-toothed idiot to track down Kuchi-sake, declaring that once they find her they will eliminate her for good. Left alone with his sister, Sei begins to understand that Kuchi-sake is far more dangerous than he first thought, and if he keeps getting involved with her, he might not survive long enough to regret it. He decides, at least for now, that he will walk away from this mess. Meanwhile, Kuchi-sake has already been cornered. The robed girl accuses her of pretending to be innocent, reminding her that she just went on a violent rampage not long ago. They cannot allow something that dangerous to wander freely through town, and they fully intend to protect the city by ending her. Kuchi-sake lowers her head, smiling faintly as she says she has a reason she cannot die yet. She has someone important now. She has Sei. Even if the robed girl does not believe it, Kuchi-sake knows what she felt when Sei chased after her despite knowing she was a monster. She wants to respond to those feelings, and that is why she begs them to leave her alone. With that, she bolts. The robed girl, whose name is revealed as Kuriha, stands there stunned for a moment, while the sharp-toothed man casually remarks that it is his turn now. He is not hanging around just to run her errands. She coldly tells him to do whatever he wants, and it is here that his name is revealed as Hizuruki. He chases after Kuchi-sake and corners her without much difficulty. He makes it clear that while he enjoys women, he has zero tolerance for monsters stepping out of line, and he even asks Kuriha for permission to eat her before grabbing Kuchi-sake's head in one hand. She struggles but cannot fight back against his overwhelming grip, and in desperation she whispers Sei's name. Right on cue, CA charges in like a reluctant hero who did not sign up for the script, pulling her out of Hizuruki's grasp. Without wasting a second, he grabs her and runs. Haruki's composure shatters as he smashes the wall beside him in frustration, and CA privately labels him a monkey because that temper tantrum was straight out of a zoo exhibit. After wrecking the surroundings, Haruki realizes there is no clean path to pursue them immediately, and CA uses that small window to create distance. They reach a temporary safe spot and CA immediately tells Kuchi-sake to hurry and get out of there. She looks at him with teary eyes and asks whether he really means it. He admits that even he cannot understand why he feels sympathy for her, which is not the declaration of love she was hoping for. She grabs his shirt and asks whether he did not come to save his lover, and he quickly clarifies that he came out of sympathy, not romance. He did not want her executed simply because of what she is. But since when did they become lovers? She insists that they should run away together, but he pulls back, reminding her that he hates occult nonsense and does not want to get dragged into it. In the distance, Kureha can be heard shouting at Haruki to find them already, and Sei tells Kuchi-sake to escape while he distracts the others. Unfortunately, that phrasing detonates the wrong emotional landmine. When he turns back, a sinister aura is pouring off her. She transforms into her terrifying form and accuses him of playing with her feelings, taking her on a date, praising her looks and then discarding her. She draws her cleavers and lunges, slicing through anything in her path. Sai frantically wonders what exactly he said that triggered this meltdown, because he never insulted her appearance. Just as she is about to reach him, Haruki intercepts her attack, and Sai briefly feels relieved that the so-called monkey might actually be useful. That relief lasts exactly 2 seconds before Kureha kicks Sai square in the face, reminding him that she warned him not to get involved. Tsubai insists he never said anything forbidden, but Kurohua bluntly explains that women do not operate on literal interpretations. When he said he felt sympathy, she heard rejection. When he said he hated the occult, she heard that he hated her. When he told her to run away, she heard that he wanted her gone. In her mind, he dumped her, and that emotional devastation pushed her into full rampage mode. Even Haruki cannot properly subdue her this time, and gets blown away. Once she reaches this level, calming her down will not be easy. Kureha declares that there is only one way to fix this, and they need Seik's cooperation. Seik agrees without hesitation and demands to know the plan. Haruki hoists him up like cargo and explains mid-flight that since Kuchi-sake believes she was dumped, Sei needs to prove she was not. Sei does not like where this is going, but he does not have time to argue as Kuchi-sake barrels toward them. Haruki launches him into the air like a human projectile, and Sei flies toward her as if he is a poorly planned rescue attempt. The moment he lands, he grabs her and kisses her directly on the lips. Instantly, the storm dies down, the murderous aura fades, and the chaos settles like it never existed. Sei internally panics because his first kiss, the one he imagined saving for something normal and wholesome, just got spent on a literal urban legend. As he pulls back, he notices her appearance has shifted again, her hair dark and her face soft and beautiful. She shyly points out that he kissed her despite saying those harsh things earlier, and a chill runs down his spine because he does not dare clarify what he meant. She looks around at the destroyed surroundings while smiling sweetly, and Sei turns to Kureha and Haruki to complain about their so-called genius strategy. Instead of celebrating, they look horrified. They explain that there is a catch. By kissing her in that state, Sei has formed a connection. He has been marked. In simple terms, he has become bound to Kuchi-sake-onna, and from this moment on, he is officially her teller. And just like that, Sei's attempt to avoid the occult crashes harder than the bridge they fell off. Sei stares at them in disbelief, and asks if they are seriously telling him that he has become a terror. Up until now, he thought Haruki and Kuchi-sake were the ones labeled as such, so the idea that he somehow joined the club without signing up feels like cosmic fraud. Kureha calmly explains that the rumors floating around online are half-baked nonsense spread by clueless people who barely understand what they are typing. A terror is not just the monster, it is the pairing of a monster born from horror stories and the human who makes use of that monster. The monster is the terror, and the human becomes the teller. Together they form a complete set. Sugo listens to this explanation and feels like someone just handed him a contract he never read but somehow already signed. Kodiya then admits something that unsettles even her, because she has never seen such overwhelming pressure from a terror before. Normally, when a monster pairs with a human, their latent abilities awaken, but what Kuchi-sake is radiating right now is on a completely different scale. Her power dwarfs Haruki's, and that alone makes Kodiya uneasy. Haruki, however, scoffs and asks if she is losing her nerve, insisting that if they attack now, they can still win. Kodiya stops him immediately, warning that this is not the same Kuchi-sake from earlier. Haruki, being confident with legs, ignores her and charges forward anyway. Kuchi-sake responds by pulling out her cleavers and with a single effortless plunge, slices a massive container clean in half as if it were cardboard. She calmly asks Haruki whether he still plans to stand between her and Sei. The display is so casual and terrifying that both Kureha and Haruki quietly pivot in the opposite direction, announcing that it might be a good time to head home. Tsubai, still stuck in the middle of this chaos, calls out to them and demands an explanation about this whole terror and teller situation. He has spent his entire life avoiding occult nonsense, and now he is apparently spiritually married to it. Kureha tells him bluntly that he kissed Kuchi-sake right on the lips and made her believe he is the only one for her. The problem is that Kuchi-sake equates love with possession, which is not exactly a healthy interpretation. As long as he does not betray her feelings, he will survive. But if she snaps out of this illusion, he will be the first one to die. They leave him with one final warning that he and Kuchi-sake are now bound together until death parts them, which sounds less romantic and more legally binding than he would prefer. On the way back, Kureha vents her frustration by kicking Hizuruki for rushing in recklessly. They both know that terrors are fated to kill each other eventually, and if Kuchi-sake continues growing stronger, it will become a serious problem. Meanwhile, Sei brings Kuchi-sake home, because letting her wander around in her current state feels like playing Russian roulette with the city. Once inside, she surprisingly prepares food for him and his sister. His sister praises the cooking, and even comments that the food is sliced with eerie precision, which makes sense considering her weapon of choice. Sei, however, sits there internally spiraling because he only brought her home to prevent another rampage, not to start a domestic arc. Kuchi-sake suddenly turns to his sister and hints that she might be forgetting something that happened earlier. Sensing danger, Sei quickly interrupts and ushers Kuchi-sake toward the bath, claiming it has been a long and sweaty day. He then pulls his sister aside and urgently tells her not to say anything that might upset Kuchi-sake. His sister, on the other hand, looks thrilled beyond reason. Instead of fear, she feels honored to live with a real occult entity, because this is basically her fandom fantasy coming to life. She even calculates that living with Kuchi-sake will generate more income than posting blurry terror photos online. When she confirms that Kuchi-sake is staying the night, and Sei nods reluctantly, she immediately starts setting up cameras in the room. Sei demands to know what she is doing, and she casually explains that she intends to record adult developments for future profit. He looks at her like he regrets sharing DNA, and tells her she is unhinged. His sister then drops the bomb that he needs to think from Kuchi-sake's perspective. For him, this was just panic management, but for her, each step was monumental. A kiss, an invitation home, a shared futon. In her mind, he has practically rolled out the red carpet for romance. Tsubai feels the blood drain from his face as the realization hits him. At that moment, Kuchi-sake emerges from the bath wearing his oversized shirt, looking unexpectedly cute rather than terrifying. His sister conveniently announces she is going to the convenience store for an hour, which is the least subtle exit in human history. Kuchi-sake notices the futon laid out and softly asks Sei to sleep beside her. Refusing could cost him his life, so he lies down stiffly on the futon, while trembling like a man awaiting judgment. She gently asks if he will listen to her side of the story. The scene shifts to her awakening in a forest with no memories except the awareness that she is the dreaded Kuchi-sake. She wandered onto a road, frightened a driver with her wide mouth, and spent the night alone. She believed that kind of treatment was fitting for someone like her, until Sai appeared in her life. She describes him as a hero, comparing him to someone straight out of a dark shonen series, and says that ending each day beside someone she loves would make her happy. She imagines living like this forever, quietly and peacefully. As she clutches his shirt and blushes, Subhi notices that when she is calm, she resembles a normal girl. For a fleeting moment, he forgets she is a walking urban legend. Then he reminds himself that Kuchi-sake is still Kuchi-sake-onna. Eventually, exhaustion takes over, and he falls asleep beside her. Elsewhere, in the dim alleys of the city, a one-eyed creep lurking in the alley like plankton, plotting world domination. Except this one isn't funny. Subhi has always heard rumors about phantoms and the so-called materialized monsters known as terrors. But unlike everyone else who gets obsessed over internet threads and blurry footage, he has never personally seen anything that would make him believe. At school, his classmates are once again buzzing about some building that was broken into, and they whisper that a terror went on a rampage inside and smashed everything up. Subhi pretends not to care, yet he is clearly listening even if he will never admit it. Just as he is about to leave, a girl named Nanomi stops him and demands to know why he is walking off without her permission. She insists he should join the occult discussion, and he fires back asking why he would ever waste his time on something so ridiculous. She claims it is more interesting when someone who hates occult nonsense is present, because apparently he is entertainment now. Their classmates immediately start watching the two of them like it is a daily soap opera, because Nanomi yelling at Sei has basically become background music in that classroom. When he finally pulls away, he mutters that maybe terrors are not as bad as she thinks, which shocks everyone because those words just came out of the mouth of the certified occult hater who treats ghost stories like unpaid bills. The girls tease Nanomi, saying they used to walk home together all the time, and maybe he finally started hating her. That earns them a glare sharp enough to slice glass, and Nanomi's eyes narrow like an angry cat who just heard someone open a tuna can without her permission. When C arrives home, Kuchi-sake greets him with that wide smile that could either mean affection or imminent homicide, and he immediately pulls her inside and tells her not to stand out in the open. They have been living together for days now, and he never expected her to act this childlike. which honestly makes things more dangerous because childish terrors are still terrors. With how carefree she behaves, it is only a matter of time before someone connects the dots. She casually informs him that his sister is about to start a stream, and when he turns, she introduces herself as Heaven, with dramatic flair, announcing that her occult-themed channel is officially launching. Sol already smells disaster because whenever his sister gets that excited look, money is about to evaporate. Heaven reveals she is streaming to introduce a special guest, which is none other than Kuchi-sake herself, and the moment she says it out loud, Sol kicks her from behind and tells her not to broadcast a literal urban legend to the entire internet. Heaven bursts into tears and argues that becoming a live streamer is basically the dream job of elementary schoolers everywhere, and if she does this right, money will flow directly into their house without her ever stepping outside. She even claims the schedule is already packed with Kuchi-sake's special appearances, and later they can pivot to adult content for serious revenue, which makes Sai question every life choice that led him here. Kuchi-sake, being helpful in the worst possible way, offers to assist, but Sai shuts it down immediately and reminds her she is already handling house chores. Then he kicks Heaven out and tells her not to return without groceries for dinner, because apparently financial responsibility still exists in this chaos. Just when he thinks the crisis is over, someone knocks on the door. He assumes it is Heaven crawling back early, and opens it while yelling at her, only to freeze when he sees Nanomi standing there instead. She bluntly tells him she came to check his house because someone spotted him bringing a cute girl home. Of all people, it had to be her, which feels like the universe personally enjoys trolling him. She tries to push her way inside, and although he protests that it is none of her business who he brings home, she manages to barge in anyway. Inside, she finds Kuchi-sake sitting calmly, and then she notices the board Heaven left behind listing features like this is some kind of product launch. Nanomi's expression immediately darkens as she demands to know what he planned to do with her body. Sai whispers to Kuchi-sake to follow his lead, or everything will spiral out of control. He hurriedly explains that Kuchi-sake is just his relative, and that there is nothing suspicious going on. Unfortunately, the word relative collides with Kuchi-sake's childlike understanding, and she proudly announces that she is his wife. Subai's brain almost short-circuits as he asks when exactly that happened, and who authorized this promotion. Heat practically radiates off Nanomi as he introduces her as his childhood friend and classmate, but she interrupts and clarifies they are more than that. They have known each other since elementary school, walked home together, studied for exams together, and recently he stopped doing all of that. She suspects Kuchi-sake is the reason, which earns her a wide, unsettling smile from the so-called wife. When Nanomi questions that strange mouth, Subai quickly covers for her and claims she is imagining things, and Kuchi-sake slips her mask back on as if nothing happened. She sweetly remarks that she is happy. Subai rushes home for her, and Nanomi turns away with a bitter edge, saying maybe she was simply in the way. Subai insists that is not what he meant, but Nanomi's unexpected reply hits harder than any punch, because she says that was supposed to be her place. Then she leaves, and as she steps outside, a creepy voice asks if everything went exactly as predicted. She calmly confirms not only that Subai brought a girl home, but that it is Kuchi-sake-onna herself. Eyes emerge from within Nanomi's hair, laughing and declaring that she truly is Kuchi-sake-onna. Nanomi requests power, and the being agrees without hesitation, revealing that the strange eye in her hair is a terror, and she is its teller. Meanwhile, Heaven reappears and innocently greets Nanomi, inviting her in for dinner as if this is a slice-of-life anime instead of an impending disaster. Nanomi coldly accuses Heaven of being the one obsessed with occult nonsense, and suggests that if Sei was seduced into this mess, it must be her fault. Without warning, Nanomi unleashes her terror, striking Heaven and knocking her unconscious. Then she calmly declares that with Death's evil eye, she will eliminate Kuchi-sake-onna once and for all. The scene shifts back to the day Nanomi was walking home from school, and she is clearly hurt by how Sei has been treating her lately. They used to walk home together almost every day, and now he leaves without even looking back, which makes her chest feel heavier than she wants to admit. She wants to ask him what she means to him, but the words never form properly in her mouth. Suddenly, a tiny one-eyed terror that looks suspiciously like Plankton from SpongeBob starts speaking, and it calls her unexpectedly timid. She freezes and demands to know what it is, and it calmly assures her that it is on her side and willing to lend her power. It then guides her towards Sei's house, and lets her peer through the window, where she sees Sei and Kuchi-sake working together inside like some cozy domestic sitcom. The creature whispers that Kuchi-sake is deceiving Sei, and that it will eliminate her to make him see the truth. Then it mocks Nanomi by asking if that brat is the one she likes, and she immediately denies it, claiming that it is Sei who likes her, not the other way around. The scene returns to the present, where Nanomi asks the terror if this gaze truly has the power to eliminate someone, if her killing intent is strong enough. The creature agrees without hesitation and explains that now that it has possessed her, its abilities will manifest fully. It encourages her to cultivate resentment and hatred, because those emotions will amplify its curse power. This terror is named Jayashi, and according to folklore, it possesses a frightening ability to read the deaths hidden in a person's heart, essentially predicting where death will strike. However, it does not unleash this power instantly, because it waits patiently for a host who remains unaware of its independent movements. Jayashi praises Nanomi, saying that even in just a day she has proven to be a capable teller, since her bad intentions and buried resentment provide excellent fuel. It keeps provoking her, asking if she plans to let a monster flirt with her guy while she stands there doing nothing. They return to the window, but this time Jayashi senses the overwhelming power radiating from Kuchi-sake and immediately panics. He realizes that her strength is far beyond what he anticipated, and his own curse might not be enough to eliminate her. He urges Nanomi to deepen her killing intent, and even tempts her by asking whether she really wants to watch someone else flirt and smooch the guy she likes. Instead of growing angrier, she becomes embarrassed and decides to go home, but as she passes Sei's house she overhears Kuchi-sake asking Sei if they can sleep together because he has not been sleeping beside her recently. Sei reluctantly agrees, and that single line ignites Nanomi's killing intent so intensely that power surges through her body like she just unlocked Super Saiyan mode without training. She fumes over Sei, questioning how he can justify these actions even if Kuchi-sake is supposedly manipulating him. Jayashi senses the spike and gleefully announces that with this level of killing intent, victory is guaranteed. Nanomi marches to the door, and at the exact same moment Sei steps outside to investigate the disturbance. They collide and fall awkwardly, with Sei landing on top of her, which completely ruins the dark transformation she was about to unleash. Jayashi screams internally for her to take advantage of the situation, but her killing intent evaporates as she blushes and tells Sei to get off because his breath is tickling her face. When he stands up, he notices ingredients scattered on the ground rather than his sister, and confusion replaces suspicion. Nanomi pushes her way inside and sees Kuchi-sake wearing an apron and looking like a dangerously adorable housewife. Sei hands her the ingredients in a way that unintentionally resembles a husband returning from grocery shopping, which makes Nanomi's brain short-circuit because it genuinely looks like a married couple scene. Jayashi desperately tries to reignite her anger by whispering that she should not tolerate them flirting and living together like this. However, Nanomi turns to Sei with tears in her eyes, and he awkwardly admits that it is his first time being alone with a girl from his class, so he feels nervous. Her tone softens instantly because she confesses she feels the same way. Meanwhile, Jayashi keeps yelling in her head, asking where her killing intent went and why she is folding this easily. She finally asks Sei if Kuchi-sake is the reason he has been rushing home lately, and he replies that it is not exactly like that and that he was not purposely avoiding her. Jayashi declares it a lie and uses his ability to let Nanomi glimpse Sei's thoughts. Instead of obsessing over her, Sei is worrying about Kuchi-sake's unstable situation, which makes Nanomi flare up again and accuse him of caring only about that girl. He stares at her confused and says she is acting strange today. Just as she is about to power up again, he explains that the girl inside is alone and that he simply decided to be there for her. That sentence completely shuts down her transformation, leaving Jayashi baffled. The memory triggers something deeper, and the scene shifts to elementary school. Back then, Nanomi was confrontational and constantly picked fights, which made her an easy target for bullies. One day, some boys hung her bag high in a tree, fully aware she was too short to reach it. Tsubai appeared out of nowhere and helped her retrieve it, and from that moment he began walking home with her regularly. The bullying gradually stopped and she managed to make friends because of that quiet support. When she once asked him why he bothered helping her when she never asked, he shrugged and said he had seen the tears of a bullied child before. He added that there was no special reason for his kindness, and that he simply decided to be there for her. Now that she was no longer alone, he told her she could go home by herself. Back in the present, Nanomi realizes that Kuchi-sake is standing in the same place she once stood. What Sei did for her in the past, he is doing now for someone else, not because he loves them, but because that is simply who he is. Her killing intent dissolves completely, and Jayashi panics as his power begins to weaken. He tries to convince her that Kuchi-sake is stealing her guy, but Nanomi calmly states that since Sei and Kuchi-sake are not officially dating, she is still on equal ground and refuses to lose. Jayashi becomes desperate and decides to peer directly into Sei's heart to prove something, only to witness a vision of injured Sei sitting beside a collapsed Nanomi, promising not to leave her alone. The sight terrifies Jayashi so much that he forcibly pulls himself out of her body. Sei immediately notices the terror separating from Nanomi and heading toward Kuchi-sake. Jayashi, shaken by what he saw, attempts to confront her directly, but Kuchi-sake is simply slicing vegetables with absurd precision. Without even noticing him, she casually cuts him apart with a normal kitchen knife, and the sliced pieces fall directly into the vegetables. She then turns to Sei with a soft smile, and says she has finished chopping everything. Sei stares in disbelief and asks whether Jashi just died, and Nanomi shrugs and says it does not matter anymore. He yells that it absolutely matters because that thing was possessing her, but she calmly replies that it is over and that she has something to do, so she will head home for today. Before leaving, she mentions that Jashi talked about possessing Kuchi-sake, which makes Sei recall that Haruki once said something about eating her. Suspicion builds, and he runs after Nanomi to ask for more details, though she resists sharing much. Back inside the kitchen, Joashi's remains continue burning among the vegetables, while Kuchi-sake suddenly shifts into her evil form. Without realizing what she is doing, she extends a long frog-like tongue and consumes the terror entirely. Then she instantly returns to her normal goofy self, smiling innocently as if she has no memory of what just happened. A chapter opens at a shrine where a frightened girl kneels before a priest and tells him she believes she is possessed. Instead of laughing her off like most adults would, the priest calmly considers the possibility that a terror is responsible, especially since many similar cases have been brought to him recently. He even notes that his number of consultations has increased significantly because of it. The girl is surprised that he believes her so easily, but he reassures her and declares that he will begin an exorcism to free her from the terror's torment. The atmosphere feels solemn, yet there is something about his composure that feels just a little too practiced. Meanwhile, Sei and Kuchi-sake are out shopping together, and for once it is just the two of them without Heaven hovering around with a camera or a business plan. Kuchi-sake looks genuinely excited because it has been a while since they have gone out alone, and she enjoys even the most mundane moments like they are special dates. Sei, however, does not share the same enthusiasm and finds it hard to see grocery shopping as romantic bonding time. He even realizes that Heaven is surprisingly useful in situations like this because she usually distracts Kuchi-sake from escalating every interaction into a relationship milestone. Kuchi-sake softly says she wishes things could stay like this forever, but Tsubai responds gloomily that things will not remain the same. In his mind, he is thinking about other terrors lurking around, especially whatever possessed Nanomi, and the strange vision he witnessed deep inside his own psyche that he still cannot explain. Unfortunately, Kuchi-sake misinterprets his statement in record time. When he says their relationship will not stay the same, she immediately translates that into an upgrade patch from dating to marriage. She blushes and shyly asks if they are going to get married, and C bluntly shuts that down by reminding her they are still minors. She then casually downgrades the conversation and says being lovers for now is fine, which makes him internally scream because he never agreed to that title either. He is irritated but chooses not to correct her after seeing how genuinely happy she looks. At this point, he realizes that correcting her emotional math might literally cost him his life, so he decides survival is more important than technical accuracy. While walking through the street, a priest suddenly passes by them and directly addresses Kuchi-sake by name. He calmly states that she must be Kuchi-sake, and mentions that he possesses a method for exorcising terrors. If C wants to learn it, he should follow him. That single sentence grabs C's full attention, and he tells Kuchi-sake to go ahead because something important has come up. He runs after the priest and finds him waiting around a corner as if he knew he would follow. C demands to know who he is and how he knows about Kuchi-sake, and the man introduces himself as Hana Ryun. They board a nearby train and Hana Ryun begins calmly explaining that he is investigating terror-related incidents. He assumes Sei knows something about possession cases and believes it would be best for him to receive exorcism as well. Sei listens to his speech without reacting much, and once the man finishes, Sei bluntly asks if he is some kind of exorcism salesman. Considering Sei is broke, he makes it clear he cannot afford premium spiritual subscriptions. Hana Ryun assures him that the service is free of charge, which only makes Sei more suspicious. He starts questioning whether this man has been watching his apartment or tracking him somehow, because the timing feels too convenient. Hana Ryun then presses further and points out that things must be hard for Sei, especially since he has never really been loved before and now has a monster he must act lovey-dovey with, just to avoid getting eliminated. That line lands harder than expected, and Sei falls silent because it is disturbingly accurate. Hana Ryun continues, explaining that Kuchi-sake is not just any terror but a legendary one. The first reports of Kuchi-sake-onna appeared in the late 1970s, and within just a few months, the rumor had spread across Japan despite there being no internet or social media at the time. That alone suggests the legend possessed terrifying influence even before modern amplification. Hana Ryun reasons that if such a legend has materialized again, its power would be enormous, and it would not matter how harmless it appears now. He asks Sei directly whether he truly wants to be involved with something of that magnitude. The weight of those words lingers as Sei processes the possibility that Kuchi-sake might not just be dangerous but historically catastrophic. After getting off the bus, Hana Ryun leads Sei toward the shrine. Tsubai walks in silence, thinking carefully about what exorcism really means. If Hana Ryun truly has a method to eliminate terrors, then would he actually allow him to kill Kuchi-sake? That thought sits heavily in his chest. At the shrine gate, Hana Ryun changes into priest robes and walks ahead confidently, as if entering his domain. Tsubai glances around and notices there is no one else nearby, which makes the atmosphere feel strangely isolated. He even questions whether this shrine truly functions as one, or if it is just a stage. Tsubai finally asks how long the exorcism will take and how Hana Ryun plans to perform it. The priest calmly turns around and answers that he will do it by killing him. Before Tsubai can fully react, he notices bodies around him, people who were supposedly exorcised earlier, including the girl from the beginning of the chapter. Panic surges through him as he shouts that these were humans, not terrors. When he looks around, Hana-ryuin has vanished, only to reappear from above and stab downward with a hidden blade. As he strikes, Hana-ryuin coldly states that the most effective way to annihilate terrors is to eliminate their tellers first. Subai collapses from blood loss, his vision blurring while the realization hits him like a truck. Hana-ryuin never intended to help him. From the very beginning, the so-called priest was hunting him. Just as his consciousness starts slipping, a sharp wind cuts through the shrine grounds, and Kuchi-sake appears, cleavers flashing as she slices straight through Hana-ryuin without hesitation. C can barely lift his head as he asks what she is doing there, and she calmly tells him she has always been there. Whenever he goes out, she follows from a distance. When he is at school, she waits outside like a shadow that never leaves. But Hana-ryuin does not fall. He straightens his body with an eerie grin and admits that she really is as dangerous as the rumors claim. If he were not Kune, he might have died just now. According to the urban legend, Kune can twist and contort its body in ways the human eye cannot properly track. To witnesses, it looks like a mirage bending out of reality, and those who stare too long feel their minds grow heavy with a strange gloom. Even now, his body moves unnaturally, as if reality itself refuses to hold him in place. Kuchi-sake's anger spikes the moment she sees him still standing. Sei is bleeding, and this thing is still breathing. She swings again, cleavers slicing through air with lethal precision, yet Hana-ryuin dodges each strike with warped agility. He mocks her, telling her to hurry up unless she wants her teller to bleed out right there. Instead of wasting another second, she scoops CA into her arms and bolts down the shrine hill. Hana-ryuin gives chase, yet even with his twisted movements, he cannot catch her. When he reaches the edge of the shrine grounds, she has already disappeared into the night. For someone who calls himself a hunter, watching his prey outrun him clearly stings. CA wakes in a hospital room, his eyes snapping open as reality settles in. Kuchi-sake stands beside his bed and tells him he was badly injured and had to receive stitches. He has been unconscious for 3 days. When he tries to sit up, pain shoots through his back, forcing him to sink back into the mattress. It is 1 in the morning, the lights still on, and he demands to know why she is still there. She answers softly that she never left. Even when the hospital staff told her to go home, she only pretended to leave before sneaking back inside. As he stares at the ceiling, the image of those murdered humans flashes in his mind. Hatred for Hana-ryuin begins to simmer beneath his confusion. One question refuses to leave him. How does killing a teller also eliminate a terror? And if Kuchi-sake can slice almost anything, why could she not land a clean hit on Hana-ryuin? The logic does not line up. The situation feels heavier than it did before. Kuchi-sake lowers her head and asks him quietly if he is scared. Subai snaps back that anyone in their right mind would be terrified. She tries to soothe him, saying everything will be fine, yet he cannot calm down. They are dealing with an opponent she cannot even properly hit. If Hana-ryu decides to target her next time, then the fragile balance they have now will shatter completely. She raises her head and smiles anyway, telling him that if that moment comes, she will protect him. He freezes at those words and asks why she would say something like that. She responds without hesitation that she is part of his family now, his chosen lover, and even his future wife. The statement hits him harder than any blade. Before he can argue further, she turns and walks out of the hospital room, thanking him for the time they spent living together. That alone tells him something is wrong. Later, beneath the pitch-black sky at Hana-ryuin's shrine, Kuchi-sake steps into the darkness and says she knows he is there. She has something important to discuss. When Hana-ryuin appears, she calmly asks him to kill her instead. If his goal was always to eliminate her by targeting Sei, then he can skip the middle step, kill her, and Sei will be safe. Hana-ryuin seems intrigued, almost amused. He has killed many tellers before, but eliminating a terror directly would be a first. Just as he prepares to stab her, Sei appears and blocks the strike. He demands to know why Hana-ryuin is trying to kill his Kuchi-sake. Hana-ryuin steps back, surprised. Kuchi-sake asks why Sei came, and he retorts that she seriously thought he would not notice. Even in a situation this grim, she kept smiling like nothing was wrong. The girl who clings to him in her sleep suddenly decides to walk home alone. Of course he noticed. She blushes and calls him an idiot, saying if she had died he would have been free. He fires back that she cannot talk about staying together, and then decide to disappear. If she dies, what happens to all that talk about being by his side? Hana-ryuin interrupts, saying this conversation is pointless, and decides to eliminate Sei instead. Yet Sei realizes something. Hana-ryuin keeps aiming at him from a distance, avoiding a true head-on fight with Kuchi-sake. That does not sound like someone confident against a so-called legendary terror. Kuchi-sake trembles and asks if that means she can actually do something here. She admits she has caused him nothing but trouble. Subai grabs her hand and tells her he chose this long ago. She became family to him without him realizing it. He tells her they are going home together. That promise shakes her to the core. Then something shifts. Subai suddenly sees a vision. A black-haired girl stands surrounded by fierce women, all radiating overwhelming presence. The black-haired one steps forward and tells him he will not lose anyone again. The moment feels unreal, yet painfully familiar. He wonders if this is truly Kuchi-sake-onna, Black energy begins to surge around her cleaver. The air thickens, and the ordinary blade morphs into something massive and terrifying. The transformation carries pure final arc energy. She stands there with confidence, declaring she will carve a path home. Hana-ryuin, who once moved like a mirage, now looks less like a legend, and more like a warm-up boss. Small fry, meet Bankai. Kuchi-sake stares at Sai and says this is the first time he has clearly confessed his love to her, which immediately shocks him. He did not mean it like that, yet the words are already out there. Hana-ryuin watches closely and feels the shift in the atmosphere. The aura around her has completely changed, especially the cleaver radiating dark energy in her hand. He warns her not to forget that she still cannot strike him directly. She does not hesitate. She lunges forward and swings the cleaver straight at him. At first he smirks, convinced he is untouched. Then pain suddenly spreads across his face as thin cuts open along his skin. His expression cracks. Kuchi-sake gives that unsettling smile and calmly tells him she can see through him now. He does not vanish this time. Instead, his body fractures into tiny bead-like fragments, the same microscopic pieces she just targeted. C stands frozen, trying to process what he is hearing. Gas particles are invisible to the naked eye, and she just sliced through something that small like she zoomed in with supernatural Wi-Fi vision. Hana-ryuin charges at her in fury, abandoning his cocky attitude. She meets him head-on, and the force of her swing tears through more than just him. The surrounding structure splits apart as if it were paper. When the dust settles, Hana-ryuin is bleeding and unable to stand. At that moment, Kuni abandons his body and slips away. Kuchi-sake walks toward him slowly, holding a massive pair of scissors above him, reminding him of his own words that if the teller dies, the terror dies too. Just before she can finish him, Sei grabs her arm and stops the blade. He tells her this is not something he will allow. She pauses, her expression softening, and instead turns to chase after the escaping terror. Left behind, Sei wonders if she will truly be alright facing something like that alone. Hana-ryuin begins to laugh weakly, realizing why Kuni fled. He had predicted they would not kill him outright. His body, he reflects, is less like gas and more like liquid. If terror had a true form, he believes it would be water. There is a place tied to his possession, a pond hidden in the mountains where he can dissolve and hide effortlessly. He convinces himself they will never find him there. Eventually he will reunite with Khan grow stronger, and return to exercise Kuchi-sake properly. What he fails to realize is that Kuchi-sake is already thinking 2 moves ahead. She slices the ground surrounding the pond with precise strikes. The earth splits open, and the water cascades downhill, draining the hiding place completely. Khan is left exposed in the emptied basin. Kuchi-sake sees him clearly now and cuts him down into fragments without hesitation. By the time Seize arrives, the scene is already decided. Hana-ryuin watches in disbelief, finally understanding that he underestimated them. He chose targets who knew nothing about terrors, maintaining 0 risk until now. He had hoped to rise quietly until no one could challenge him. That plan just drowned with the pond. C rushes to Kuchi-sake and anxiously asks if she is hurt. She beams with excitement and tells him a sudden surge of power rushed through her body. She is convinced it is because of the loving words he said earlier. She declares loudly that now they can truly stay together again. Subai, still catching his breath, agrees and tells her they are going home together. Then something shifts. Her eyes suddenly darken. She turns slowly and looks at the remaining terror behind her. Her form transforms fully into that sinister version of herself. Without hesitation, she opens her mouth and consumes Kundo entirely. The act happens so quickly that Sai cannot even react. Moments later, she turns back to him, her expression confused as if nothing happened. Hana-ryuin, barely conscious, mutters that she has just consumed Kun. The realization hits both of them at the same time. Sai turns to Hana-ryuin and demands to know what just happened. Hana-ryuin mutters that Kuchi-sake consumed a terror, which means something far beyond normal rules just occurred. If she absorbed then what exactly happened to the terror inside him? Before C can press further, Kureha and Hizaruki arrive and confirm the same thing. Khan has been consumed. C stares at them, confused, asking why they are even here. They explain they were also tracking Hana-ryuin, and will finish that discussion later. Right now, they need to deal with him. Kureha orders Hizaruki to eliminate Hana-ryuin immediately. Hizaruki lunges forward, but Sai shouts for Kuchi-sake to stop him. She blocks the punch effortlessly using her bankai scissors. Kureha, now fully serious, declares they already know what Hana-ryuin has done. He killed innocent people and terrors alike. She demands to know if Sai understands that someone like him deserves punishment. Sai counters calmly that Hana-ryuin's terror is gone. He is just a human now. Killing him would solve nothing. Subai refuses to accept this cycle where people eliminate others in the name of the occult. He says he will not allow useless killing. Kureha stands there speechless for a moment before telling Hizaruki to stand down. Hana-ryuin laughs weakly and asks if they are truly letting him walk away. Kureha answers that question by kicking him directly in the face. She turns away in frustration, muttering how she ended up getting scolded by someone like so. Hana-ryuin looks at Sei and asks if he is really going to protect him. Sei calls someone on his phone and replies that prison protection from the inside should be enough. Hanryuin is left alone in the dark. After things settle, Kureha asks Sei about his injuries. He admits the pain is still there but improving. She invites him to her place so they can properly discuss terrors. Kuchi-sake immediately objects. She does not trust them and reminds him what happened the last time he followed someone suspicious, but Sei insists he needs answers. There are too many things he still does not understand. Reluctantly, Kuchi-sake follows along. They arrive at Kureha's house. She gestures toward her place, but Kuchi-sake clearly does not like the idea of him entering such a small enclosed space alone. Hizuruki casually invites her to wait elsewhere, saying Kureha's room is private and only for humans. As Sie moves toward the door, Kuchi-sake grabs his arm with watery eyes. She whispers that when a woman invites a man inside like that, it usually means something. She is also afraid something bad will happen again. She does not want him getting stabbed a second time. He gently pats her head and reminds her they are going home together. That is still the plan. Then he steps inside. As the door closes, Sie reassures himself that if they wanted him dead, they could have done it already. Suddenly, Kureha appears right behind him, nearly stopping his heart. She is only closing the door properly, and scolds him that if he opens it, he should close it. She hates sloppiness. He finally notices her new appearance. She has changed into casual clothes and glasses, looking like a completely different person. A dangerous One-Isan energy upgrade just unlocked. He scans the apartment and sees shelves filled with books about the occult. She asks if he is surprised. Maybe he thought she was secretly the studious type all along. He responds by labeling her a Yankee nerd hybrid. The air immediately drops 10 degrees. She snaps that she is neither a Yankee nor a nerd. After calming down, she admits she made a mistake earlier. She nearly killed Hanryuin without thinking, and Sate was the one who stopped her. Maybe he is not as bad as she assumed. She then explains about her senpai. Hanryuin eliminated a woman who used to be her upperclassman in elementary school. She failed to save her despite always talking about protecting the town from terrors. That failure has been eating at her. When Sei got hurt, she felt responsible. Hearing this, Sei understands her frustration. He tells her she is almost as good of a person as he thought. She blushes for half a second before grabbing his collar and demanding to know who he is calling good. His survival instincts kick in immediately. After releasing him, she gestures for him to sit down. If he wants to learn about terrors, she says she will teach him properly. Kureha admits she did not understand everything in the beginning either. When she first spoke to Hizuruki about terrors, all he could tell her were things she had already experienced firsthand. She encountered terrors 3 months ago, and Hizuruki simply asked her if she wanted to crush them together. That was how her life as a teller began. It was not destiny or some heroic calling. It was more like a recruitment pitch from an overconfident primate with anger issues. She explains that terrors possess supernatural powers, and they use those powers to kill each other. Once destroyed, they turn into black gaseous bodies that humans cannot fully comprehend. However, terrors can absorb those remains. Tsubai finally understands what they meant by consuming. Unlike Hanryuin, she is only a teller. Hizuruki has already absorbed many bodies and grown stronger. Growth for terrors is instinctive. If they want to survive and fight, they must keep consuming. Tsubai asks why creatures that powerful even need humans. Kureha answers that they require possession to properly use their supernatural abilities. She does not know why this rule exists. Some suggest terrors were born from human horror tales themselves. Most terrors possess only one person, and once possession occurs, it cannot be undone unless one of them dies. That is why the rule exists. If the terror dies too. The war between these paired beings is called Terror Night. Tsubai has already stepped into it, whether he likes it or not. A cold thrill runs through him. He says he never wanted this conflict, and Kuchi-sake never asked for such power either. Kureha challenges him. Is he really sure about that? Kuchi-sake has shown a dangerous side more than once. What if she simply forgot her true nature? What if every time she consumes something, that original self starts returning piece by piece? The thought hits him hard. For a moment he imagines her losing herself completely. Kureha asks him directly if he will continue his relationship with her. C answers without hesitation. Yes, even if hunters return, even if the world turns against them. That will not change how he feels. He tightens his resolve and declares that no matter what happens next, they will cut through their enemies together. Kureha smiles faintly and calls him Mr. Boyfriend. He immediately protests that their relationship is strictly familial. The denial comes out so fast it almost sounds rehearsed. Their argument restarts naturally. He complains that he still does not know whether Kureha and her terror are allies or enemies. Then he abruptly switches topics and points out she attends a certain high school, meaning she is the same age as him. She quickly tries to hide her uniform and accuses him of being some kind of uniform fanatic. He snaps back that his sister attends the same school. The misunderstanding explodes for no reason at all. Kureha eventually calms down and explains she does not want to associate with terrors either. She hunts only those who hurt people. Sei questions whether that makes her some ally of justice, and if so, that is still dangerous. No one can carry that burden alone. She admits fighting alongside a monster is the only way she can oppose them. She pauses before saying still, then awkwardly scratches her head. The reason she fights is simple. She absolutely despises the occult. Seika bursts out laughing. She stiffens instantly, demanding to know what is funny. He leans back against a bookshelf, laughing even harder, which only makes her angrier. When she steps toward him, books fall from the shelves. From the doorway, it looks like they are in a suspiciously intimate position. The timing could not possibly be worse. Kuchi-sake enters at that exact moment. She drops to the floor dramatically, tears forming instantly. She pulls out her cleaver and declares this is exactly what she feared. If she had arrived 5 seconds later, who knows what scandalous, passionate catastrophe would have unfolded. Sing and Kufa scramble to explain. They start stretching awkwardly, claiming they were training, purely mutual physical training, strictly platonic cardio. Somehow Kuchi-sake believes them. As Sunning escorts her out, Kureha subtly hands him her contact information. She tells him that godly spirits, demons, and terrors are not ancient myths. They are modern tales spreading through the internet. The internet limits them, but it also feeds them. However, Kuchi-sake is an irregularity. Sunning asks what exactly that means. Kureha admits she has been investigating that very question. Terrors first appeared when Terror Night began half a year ago. So what was different about those online stories back then? She intends to solve that goddamn riddle. Before leaving, Subai finally asks her name properly. She tells him it is Kuchugoku Kureha. On the way home, Kuchi-sake looks at him with teary eyes and asks if he is sure there is nothing between them. He panics and insists they are just friends. Completely normal friends. Absolutely zero romantic tension. He remembers Kureha saying she hates the occult and smiles, thinking maybe she really is someone he can trust. That small smile is enough to activate Kuchi-sake's yandere mode. She quietly declares she does not like those people. The air gets colder. Sei is standing inside a public telephone booth, holding an occult book in one hand while talking to Kureha on the line like a guy who swore he hated this stuff 5 minutes ago. She tells him the book she recommended contains everything he needs to know about the occult, and he thanks her because he genuinely had no clue which one to pick. She sounds surprised that he even owns occult books, and he admits he does, but he refuses to open them. Apparently they have just been sitting there collecting dust like forbidden artifacts he pretends do not exist. Kureha assumes they must be normal research or countermeasure books, but if she saw the titles she would realize they probably look like they belong in his sister's Welcome to Demon Hour starter pack. He imagines asking his sister about occult material, and can already hear her creepy laugh echoing in the background, while she announces that he has finally awakened to the wonders of the occult. Bro hates the occult so much he secretly owns a starter library. Kureha suggests that if he needs more information, the internet is flooded with occult materials, but Suf reminds her that he is broke and cannot just impulse buy demon manuals like they are snack packs. She casually invites him over to her place, saying she can teach him directly and help him research properly. He immediately pictures Kuchi-sake's reaction if he casually visits another girl's apartment, and that image alone is enough to send a chill down his spine. He tells Kureha that Kuchi-sake would absolutely misunderstand the situation between them, and that misunderstanding would probably involve scissors. Kureha bluntly says he should not be alone right now anyway, because the moment he is isolated he is basically a walking target. She checks to make sure Hisarunsai Miruki is nearby, while reminding Sei that having Kuchi-sake around is like having a cheat character guarding him. She calls him lucky, which is one way to describe surviving by accident every other day. Sei hangs up and steps out of the booth, already feeling watched, and sure enough Kuchi-sake is standing at a distance like a dedicated surveillance system with feelings. He stares at her and tells her she does not need to hide because they already made eye contact from halfway across the station. She admits she ditched whatever she was doing because stalking him is simply more entertaining than grocery shopping. Apparently watching him struggle through life is her favorite hobby, which is romantic in the most terrifying way possible. He awkwardly turns away and tells her he is done for the day and they should head home. She suddenly leans in from behind him like a horror movie extra and asks who he was talking to on the phone. He lies without hesitation, claiming it was some old relative, which is probably the weakest cover story in existence. If lying were a class, he would fail it with confidence. They board the train together and Sei opens the occult book while Kuchi-sake sits beside him, watching him with wide interest. He tries to make sense of the section about Terror Night, but the explanations are vague and frustrating. From what he gathers, terrors basically consume each other to grow stronger, which sounds disturbingly similar to cannibalism with extra steps. He thinks about how Kuchi-sake's power spiked before, when her cleavers transformed into massive scissors, and she overwhelmed Kungai. Kungai. That surge did not feel like a normal power-up from consumption, and he remembers seeing mysterious girls at that moment as well. He glances at Kuchi-sake to ask about it, but she is staring at him with a goofy expression, completely unaware of any hidden transformation lore. Bro is investigating cosmic horror while she is just happy to sit next to him. He lets out a long sigh and she immediately asks if he is scared. He tells her he is not scared, but he wants to do something about their situation instead of just surviving day by day. He remembers their hospital conversation and how fragile everything felt back then. She gently tugs on his shirt and says with a bright smile that wherever he goes she will be with him. For a moment he smiles back at her, almost forgetting how dangerous their reality has become. Then suddenly the train lights flicker and everything goes pitch black without warning. When the lights return, everyone else has vanished, including Kuchi-sake, leaving him alone in eerie silence. His heart starts pounding as he looks around and realizes there is no tunnel nearby that would explain a blackout like this. The train grinds to a halt, and the doors open at a station that should not exist. The sign reads Kisaragi. He steps off the train into an empty platform that is unnaturally clean and completely silent, with no passengers in sight and no sign of life anywhere. The air feels wrong, and for the first time in a while, he does not have Kuchi-sake standing behind him like an overprotective shadow, and now he is alone. Sayak blinks and immediately realizes something is wrong. He clearly remembers being on the train, yet now the air feels different, and the silence is suffocating. He looks around and notices Kuchi-sake is nowhere to be seen, which makes his chest tighten. The name Kisaragi Station suddenly resurfaces in his mind, one of those cursed internet legends people scroll through at midnight and regret later. It is said to be a station that does not exist in reality, yet somehow exists outside it. No matter which direction someone walks, there are only endless grassy fields, and communication devices become useless. The isolation feels deliberate, like something dragged him here on purpose. He slams his fist against a nearby wall and curses under his breath, recognizing this pattern all too well. This has to be a terror's doing, just like what happened with the priest. While he is still piecing things together, something crawls out from behind him and collapses to the ground. Sei almost jumps out of his skin, convinced for a split second that he is facing the terror itself. Instead, it is just a victim, barely conscious and trembling. The man looks hollow, like this place has already drained him dry. Sei swallows hard, realizing that if he stays here too long, that will be his future. Without Kuchi-sake beside him and without Kureha or Hizaruki around, he is forced to think for himself. He remembers what Kureha said about the rule of tellers and terrors, that if the teller dies, the terror dies too. That rule cannot only apply to him, it has to apply to this place as well. If this station is a terror, then its teller must be nearby, and tellers are human. Humans he can fight. That thought alone steadies him just enough to move forward instead of freezing up. The train suddenly appears again, as if nothing ever happened, and he boards it with no real choice. When it finally stops at what looks like a depot, he steps off and immediately notices skulls scattered along the path. So this is not some subtle haunting, this is organized harvesting. As he moves closer, he overhears a girl with an eye patch ordering a guy around, telling him they still need 3 more people this week for the terror's growth. The guy barely responds, acting like she is background noise. She reminds him that she outranks him, but the confidence in her voice cracks the moment he calmly explains that he controls the station and can make her disappear whenever he feels like it. The atmosphere shifts instantly. He says he has already found a giant fish and alerted the terror, and Subai realizes with a cold jolt that he is the fish. His heart starts pounding, yet he forces himself to stay quiet and think. The guy is human, which means this is still a fight he can win. Just as he prepares himself mentally, a towering woman steps into view. She is nearly 8 feet tall, elegant in a way that feels unnatural, and her presence alone makes his instincts scream. She moves toward him without hesitation, and Sokle bolts the second their eyes meet. She chases him while holding her dress up slightly, which would almost look theatrical if it were not completely terrifying. Sokle turns corners blindly, trying to outpace her, but the distance closes far too quickly. His lungs burn and his legs begin to fail him, yet he refuses to stop. Then her hand clamps around his neck with crushing force and lifts him slightly off the ground. Air leaves his lungs in an instant, and his vision begins to blur. For the first time since arriving at this cursed station, Sage understands that this is not just another close call. This is death staring him straight in the face. The tall woman tightens her grip around Sage's throat. Lucky bastard, and just when his vision begins to blur, her eyes suddenly shift toward the cabin behind him. In the next instant, she drops him like he is yesterday's problem, and sprints away without explanation. From inside the cabin, a soft voice calls out and asks if he is all right, then calmly tells him the door is open if he needs to come in. Subai can barely stand, so he drags himself forward with whatever strength he has left and pushes the door open. Inside, he finds a small human boy lying in a futon, glowing with a strange, bright aura that feels completely out of place in this nightmare station. The boy looks at him gently and says he looks like a zombie, which is fair because he probably does. If near-death exhaustion had a mascot, it would be C right now. The child tells him they are in a facility and that he can call a doctor if he needs one, as if that is a normal option in an abandoned terror station. C looks around and asks who he is and why he is alone in a place like this. He warns him that it is dangerous outside because there is a monster roaming around who nearly strangled him to death. The boy responds calmly, asking if he means strange-looking things, and reassures him that there is someone protecting him who would never allow harm to reach this room. He tries to sit up, but his legs fail him immediately, and he admits he has been bedridden for years. He drags himself toward another door, but it is too heavy for him to open. C forces himself upright and says he will be fine, even though his body feels like it has been drained dry. He pieces together the situation quickly, and remembers how the woman stopped attacking him the moment she noticed the child watching. That means she is not randomly hunting him but reacting to something else entirely. They introduce themselves, and the boy reveals his name is Haru. Sadie asks what he is doing at Kisaragi Station, and whether he is a teller, but Haru does not understand the term at all. He explains this is a care facility, where he has been hospitalized for as long as he can remember. When Sadie asks about the person protecting him, Haru begins to cry softly and explains that his parents are gone. His mother left with another man, his father disappeared in anger, and his illness only grew worse afterward. At some point someone brought him here, though he cannot remember who. Haru continues explaining that he has never actually seen the facility workers, but he can always tell they have been there because small signs are left behind. Even if he has no parents anymore, he says he is fine because someone kind is always watching over him. Sadie realizes something is wrong with that sentence. It fits too perfectly with what Kureha said about terrors and tellers being paired one-to-one. If that is true, then the so-called Yakuza-looking guy earlier was not the teller of this station, and neither was the girl beside him. The real connection must be here, hidden in plain sight. Sadie remembers the internet legend of Hashiaku-sama, the towering woman in white who lures boys with familiar voices and absorbs their spirits. If the legend aligns with reality, then Haru is her teller, and he does not even know it. As he turns toward the window, he sees the tall woman staring at him from outside with cold, watchful eyes. In a blink, she enters the room and positions herself protectively in front of Haru. To say she looks like a horror story come alive, but when she turns toward the boy, her expression softens into something gentle and almost maternal. Then she looks back at Sei with a sharp, hostile glare and charges at him again. He raises his hands and shouts for her to wait, insisting he has no ill intentions toward Haru. She ignores him completely, which tells him she only cares about protecting the boy and nothing else. He starts firing questions at her rapidly, asking if she is working with the others, why she is hunting people, and why she leaves Haru alone in a place like this if she cares about him. When she lunges forward again, he yells that she is not thinking about Haru at all, and that finally makes her freeze in place. He continues, saying he hates the occult and hates terrors even more, but he has learned that not every monster is mindlessly cruel. He says he does not think she is that kind of monster either. For a moment the tension shifts. She speaks calmly and asks if he truly believes she is a good person, then warns him that he is mistaken. She says she is far worse than he thinks, and the air in the room tightens again as if the truth itself just stepped forward. Subai stares at her and asks why she is doing any of this. It is obvious she is acting for Haru's sake, yet she has locked him inside a place like this and calls it protection. The contradiction gnaws at him because none of her actions line up cleanly. If she cares about the boy, why does this whole station feel like a prison? Before he can press further, the world around him shifts and she forces him to see her past. Unexpectedly, Haru also begins to see it through a dream, as if their memories are bleeding into his mind. The truth does not arrive gently. It crashes in. She walks through a forest and recognizes herself clearly as Hashiaku-sama, a terror. A man driving through the road slows down after spotting a tall, beautiful woman in white. He rolls down his window out of curiosity, and she suddenly leans in close with a distorted face that scares him half to death. Then she continues on, hunting other terrors to consume and increase her power. With every absorption, her aura grows darker and heavier, like a storm feeding itself. One day she passes by a house and notices a small boy collapsed on the ground with a fever and bruises. She stops without understanding why. Instead of devouring him, she lifts him gently in her arms. She cannot explain the feeling rising inside her, but it is not hunger, it is something softer, something painfully human. Even as a terror, she carries a mother-like instinct she does not recognize in herself. She convinces herself that this boy and her are meant to stay together, and that is why she cannot abandon him. That single decision changes everything. Later, the Yakuza-looking man appears and asks bluntly if she is a terror. She freezes for a second, aware that she is Hashiaku-sama, holding a child in her arms. Her voice turns sharp as she demands to know who he is, but he introduces himself casually as a friend. The moment he mentions helping the boy get treatment, her tone softens. He promises there is a place where Haru can recover, and persuades her to follow him to Kisaragi Station. He instructs her to place Haru inside a specific rail car, assuring her that she will have all the time she needs to nurse him back to health. She does not trust him, but he manipulates her just enough to make her hesitate. Once Haru is laid down, his real intention surfaces. He asks her for a favor, explaining that outsiders occasionally wander into this world. He wants her to kill them for him. She stiffens, confused and angry, but he snaps at her to shut up, barking that no monster talks back to him like that. The audacity of a human yelling at a terror like he is her boss would almost be funny if it were not so pathetic. She attacks him instantly and tries to drain his strength, but suddenly the rail car carrying Haru begins to move. The man calmly explains that in this world, train cars move by will. The speed increases rapidly, and he asks what might happen if it derails while Haru is inside. The threat is not loud, but it is clear. He assures her he does not intend to kill the boy, but she must follow his orders and handle the dirty work. He is so down bad for control that he weaponizes a sick child just to secure obedience. Cornered and desperate, she has no choice but to accept. She returns to Haru and gently strokes his head, apologizing for being foolish. The Yakuza forbids her from telling Haru anything about the ugly truth, about the killings, or about his twisted intentions. He claims this place is no different from a hospital, as long as she keeps nursing him. Then he points to a random man who has just arrived and orders her to kill him. The man shouts in confusion, saying he was riding a train only moments ago. She hesitates, but the Yakuza presses her coldly, asking which life matters more, Haru's or the stranger's. Faced with that choice, she rushes forward and strangles the man, draining his life energy before consuming his terror. The Yakuza announces smugly that Kisaragi Station has grown stronger. She stares at the blood on her hands and feels disgusted, while Haru watches the dream in silent sorrow. The vision ends and Sei snaps back to reality, breath shaking. He mutters that Haru is nothing more than a hostage. If anyone looks at the situation objectively, that is the only conclusion. She agrees quietly that Haru's life is in danger, and that is why she obeys those men. Rage floods through Sei as he demands to know why she accepted such a fate without question. She lashes out again and grips his throat, asking what else she was supposed to do. Even while choking, he forces out the words that if the Yakuza is removed from the equation, there is no longer a chain around her neck. She hesitates, and he tells her she has to leave, saving Haru to him. She finally releases his throat and asks if he can truly do it. Soba looks at her with steady resolve and tells her they will get out of this place together. There are hospitals in the real world and people who can actually help Haru instead of chaining him to a nightmare station. She listens carefully, almost hopeful, but warns him she refuses to be fooled again. He answers honestly that he does not need her blind trust because this is not about him versus her, it is about Haru. Their interests align, and that is enough. Tsubai steps out of the rail car with Hashiaku silently following behind him. He snaps at her to stop trailing him and promises he will return once he finds a way out. She calmly replies that if this is for Haru, then they share the same goal and she can assist him. For someone who used to drain spirits without blinking, she has become surprisingly cooperative. As he scans the area, his eyes land on the girl who was earlier with the Yakuza. She casually sits at a table, sipping a drink as if this entire hellscape is a cafe. The fact that she looks relaxed here tells him she is not trapped like the others. Hashiaku asks if they need to fight her, but Sei shakes his head because his legs are barely functioning. Instead of brute force, he whispers a plan. They sneak behind a door near the girl, and Hashiaku suddenly mimics the Yakuza's voice perfectly. She shouts at the girl, demanding to know why she is wandering around when she was supposed to stay in the railcar. The girl nearly chokes on her drink and scrambles upright, panicking instantly. She blurts out that she has already delivered every message she had and does not have anything new. Hashiaku, still using the Yakuza's tone, growls that she better not test his patience. Solence quietly guides her lines from the shadows, remembering from his occult book that Hashiaku can imitate voices flawlessly. She demands to know something simple, assuring the girl it will not be difficult. The girl, trembling, nervously asks if he wants to know her underwear color again. Hashiaku snaps sharply that he never asked for something that stupid. Even in a death station, this girl's brain defaults to nonsense, which is honestly impressive in the worst way. The interrogation continues, and Hashiaku demands to know how she returns home. The girl finally pulls out a ticket and explains that as long as she holds it while boarding a moving railcar, she can open any door and return to the real world. That single piece of information lights up Sei's eyes. Hashiaku demands she leave the ticket on the table and step back. The girl hesitates but tosses something over in fear. When Sei picks it up, he realizes it is her panties, not the ticket. He immediately flings them back at her face and demands the actual ticket, refusing to entertain whatever weird survival tactic she thought that was. The girl suddenly grows suspicious and mutters that he has never asked for her underwear before, so how can she be sure this is really him? Tsubai freezes for a split second, realizing the deception almost cracked. She begins ranting about how the Yakuza dragged that sick, messed up brat into this world. The moment she insults Haru, Hashiaku steps out from hiding with murder in her eyes. She grabs the girl by the throat and demands to know who she just called a sick brat. The girl does not get a second chance to clarify. Hashiaku crushes her windpipe and eliminates her without hesitation. Sei shouts at her that they just wasted all the effort they put into fooling her. If others discover what happened, their situation will worsen fast. He grabs the real ticket from her lifeless hand and urges Hashiaku to move. Something feels too smooth though, like the station is allowing this to happen. He starts running toward the railcar to retrieve Haru and escape, but when he glances back, Hashiaku stands still, lost in thought, as if sensing something approaching. Sei rushes toward Hashiaku and tells her it is time to grab Haru and get out of this nightmare station. Instead of moving, she sits there with a dull expression and quietly says she will hide, while Sei and Haru leave alone. That answer hits him harder than the chaos around them. He asks her what kind of nonsense that is, and why she would suddenly back down now. Hashiaku lowers her gaze and says Haru does not need a monster like her in his life. For the first time, the towering spirit looks small, Sei pauses, surprised to see fear written across her face instead of rage. He reminds her that she has been protecting Haru all this time, even when it meant staining her hands. Still, she hesitates, convinced that once Haru sees what she truly is, he will recoil. Sei struggles for a moment, then firmly tells her Haru is the type of kid who would understand. He points out that even he understands her actions, so she should at least believe in herself. If he, someone who hates the occult, can see her intentions, then Haru definitely can. To make his point clearer, he tells her that he is the teller of Kuchi-sake-onna, and that they are currently living together. Hashiaku freezes at the word together, and immediately leans forward with curiosity. She bluntly asks if they are going out or dating. Tsubai pulls the most disgusted face imaginable, and mutters that they are kind of going out. That only fuels her interest, and she shyly asks if they kiss too. He stiffly answers that they kissed accidentally, which makes her blush and squeal like she just heard the spiciest gossip in existence. Tsubai watches her reaction with growing confusion, wondering how this turned into a romance interrogation mid-crisis. Hashiaku suddenly jumps up, claiming she feels better now, and is ready. He narrows his eyes and tells her to stop lying because he can see through it. Getting serious, he tells her Haru wants to meet her properly, not as some distant guardian hiding in shadows. There is no reason for her to avoid him anymore. That finally reaches her, and she smiles softly before asking one last question. Does he actually like Kuchi-sake? Tsubai looks at the sky and quietly replies that he just does not hate her, which is about as romantic as he is capable of being. Together they carry unconscious Haru and rush toward the departing train. They barely make it aboard before the doors shut behind them. Once inside, Sei asks if they are ready and pulls out a card from his pocket, hoping it will trigger their escape. As if responding to his resolve, the card vanishes and a portal opens ahead of the train. He glances at Haru and promises silently that he will get him out of here. For a second it feels like they actually won. Then the train explodes. The blast tears through the railcars and sends metal flying in every direction. The train derails violently, breaking into pieces as all three of them are thrown across the grass. Sei struggles to breathe as the world spins around him. Hashiaku scrambles up in shock, both of them staring at the wreckage. A few meters away, Haru lies motionless with blood running down his forehead. The sight freezes them in place for half a second before they sprint toward him. Before they can reach him, black energy erupts from the destroyed train. It lashes out like living chains and wraps around Hashiaku's body. The power forces its way into her mind, corrupting her thoughts in seconds. In the distance, the Yakuza boy watches with quiet satisfaction. He mocks them internally, amazed they thought he would not anticipate this. The train does not only transport power, it amplifies and returns it, and only its chosen user can absorb that surge. His plan works perfectly. Hashiaku's aura shifts violently as her gentle presence fractures. She returns to her monstrous state and lunges at Sei without hesitation. Her massive hand wraps around his throat, lifting him off the ground. He claws at her wrist, trying to reason with her, but her eyes show nothing but feral intent. At the edge of death, he shouts that she and Haru were supposed to escape together forever. The words barely register as she tightens her grip. His vision begins to blur while the portal flickers in the distance, slowly closing. Darkness creeps in from the corners of his sight. Just before it seals completely, a gigantic scissor tears through the portal from the outside. The fabric of space splits open as if it was paper. Through the rip, Kuchi-sake steps in grandly, her presence slicing through the chaos like a blade. After landing, she calmly asks Sei where exactly he has been wandering off to this time. Kuchi-sake tears through the portal like a storm and rushes straight towards Sei. Without hesitation, she swings her massive scissors around Hashiaku, forcing her to step back from his collapsing body. The metal blades whistle through the air with lethal precision. She drops beside him and asks if he is alive. Sei opens his eyes, trying to answer, but no words come out. Seeing him breathing is enough to bring tears into her eyes. She straightens up and declares that she was the one who promised to protect him, so she will not forgive herself for letting this happen. Her expression hardens as she points her blades toward Hashiaku. She vows to slice down the tall woman for daring to hurt him. Tsubai tries to warn her that Hashiaku is not the real enemy, and that the Yakuza boy is the one pulling strings. However, his throat fails him, and the warning dies inside his chest. From a distance, the Yakuza boy watches with amusement. An intruder barging into his little nightmare world only makes things more entertaining. It does not matter to him which monster wins as long as the power remains his. The clash begins instantly. Kuchi-sake charges forward, dragging her titanic scissors in a brutal arc toward Hashiaku. Hashiaku moves with eerie grace, dodging effortlessly while creating space between them. Tsubai, barely conscious, notices something strange about her movements. She keeps stepping away, intentionally leaving openings as if baiting Kuchi-sake into overextending. When Hashiaku lunges in to counterattack, Kuchi-sake snaps her scissors open and blocks the strike cleanly. The impact echoes across the ruined grass like steel colliding with thunder. Hashiaku's anger spikes violently, and her aura flares like she just flipped into Super Saiyan mode without permission. A circular field forms around Kuchi-sake, and dark energy begins draining from her body. Sei watches in horror as power flows out of Kuchi-sake without any physical contact. The air itself seems to siphon her strength away. For a moment it looks like the tide has turned. Then Kuchi-sake tilts her head with a curious smile and asks if Hashiaku is trying to suck something out of her. She casually swings her scissors again and tells Hashiaku to stop because it feels itchy. That single slash disrupts the energy field, and Hashiaku is knocked back onto the ground. Subai stares in disbelief at the overwhelming difference in raw strength. There is no realistic scenario where Kuchi-sake loses to a draining trick like that. Kuchi-sake corners Hashiaku and spreads her scissors around her like a guillotine, declaring that this punishment is for running off with her Subai. Even now, her priorities remain dangerously romantic. Subai forces himself to shout that Hashiaku is not guilty. The moment he does, Kuchi-sake's massive scissors shrink back into their original knife form. She looks confused, glancing at the blades as if they betrayed her mid-swing. Subai's mind races as he realizes the transformation responded directly to his command. That means being a teller is not just about possession. There is influence, maybe even control. The bond runs deeper than he thought. Struggling to stand, Subai drags himself toward Haru, knowing he is the key to ending this. Hashiaku rushes forward and reaches out, but Kuchi-sake grabs her arms and holds her back. Even while restraining her, Kuchi-sake's legs tremble violently. Subai notices the strain immediately. She may be overwhelmingly powerful, but she is still at her limit. He calls her name in panic, but she cuts him off and says she does not fully understand what is happening. What she does know is that he would never let her down. Using the last strength in his legs, Sei staggers toward Haru. Every step feels like walking through wet cement. He realizes that Hashiaku cannot be defeated by brute force alone. The only one who can truly stop her now is Haru himself. Sei rushes toward Haru and drops to his knees, shaking him gently while telling him to wake up. When Haru finally opens his eyes, Sei immediately asks if he recognizes him and tells him to focus. But before he can get a response, Haru's eyes roll back and he slips into unconsciousness again. Subai knows this is bad. Still, he also knows that Haru is the only one who can fix this. Only Haru can reach Hashiaku right now. He starts thinking fast. Maybe fear is something a teller can control. Maybe a teller can stabilize their terror if the bond is strong enough. But then he remembers that even when he told Hashiaku to stop earlier, she didn't listen at all. So whatever this is, it is beyond simple commands. Still, he refuses to give up. He shouts at Haru to wake up and help Hashiaku, because if this doesn't stop now, someone is going to die. Watching from a distance, the main villain clicks his tongue in irritation. He hates that Sei keeps finding ways to survive. Clever people annoy him, especially the stubborn kind who don't know when to stay down. While Sei cradles Haru in his arms, something suddenly flashes across his vision. Kuchi-sake immediately drops everything and rushes toward him, panicked that she might have missed something. Then Hashiaku steps in front of them, and for a split second, Sei wonders if she is protecting Haru instead of attacking. That small moment changes everything. Haru suddenly smiles, like he understands something, and his eyes slowly open. He looks directly at Hashiaku. They lock eyes for a few seconds, and just like that, the madness fades. Hashiaku's presence stabilizes, and she returns to normal. Sei had prepared himself to explain everything about terrors and tellers, but somehow Haru just solved it without a single word. That kid really just pressed the emotional reset button. Meanwhile, Kuchi-sake collapses to the ground, trembling. Sei grabs her shoulders and asks if she is all right, but she whispers that she can't move. She looks at Haru and Hashiaku, realizing they are just like her and Sei. They are another terror and teller pair trying to survive. Sinning nods because deep down he already knew that. The villain completely loses his patience at this point. Furious, he declares that this will be the end for Hashiaku. Out of nowhere, train tracks begin forming beneath them. Metal rails snapping into existence like the world itself is rewriting reality. Before anyone can react, the sound of a train roars in the distance. Sunny tries to move, but his legs freeze. He forces himself to step forward, but nothing responds. For a moment, his life flashes before his eyes. Then Hashiaku moves. She shoves Kuchi-sake and Haru out of the way just as the train barrels through. The impact takes her with it. The three of them stare in stunned silence as the train disappears into the distance, carrying her away. Everything happens too fast. 1 second she was there, the next she's gone. Inside the train, the villain sits calmly, pouring himself a drink like he didn't just try to murder everyone. He mutters that Hashiaku wasn't a bad woman, and he made a decent profit off her. He smirks to himself, saying that if he has to use someone, it might as well be a woman. In his twisted view, people are easy, push the right buttons and they fall in line. Control their emotions and they'll do whatever you want. But then he hears footsteps behind him. He didn't allow anyone else on this train. So whoever is walking toward him right now is not supposed to be here. His smirk slowly fades. A few hours earlier, Tano had gone to see Kyogoku and asked for help, believing no one else could handle this. After hearing everything, Kyogoku quickly figured out it had to be Kisaragi Station. She staked out the area where Sei vanished, and when the gateway opened, she didn't hesitate. Seeing Kuchi-sake struggle earlier annoyed her. Losing to something that low level, that doesn't sit right with her. She assures everyone she won't lose. To her, this isn't some impossible mission. It's a straight path forward. Follow the trail, catch the villain, end it. Sei had told her he wanted to save Haru for the sake of the one who wished for it, and he made it clear he wouldn't repeat himself. Kyogoku smirks and asks if he really thinks she would lose. Then she and Tono charge forward to hunt down the man on that train. This time, the hunter might be the one getting hunted. In the present, Tono and Kyogoku stand on top of the moving train, wind tearing past them as the metal roof rattles beneath their feet. Without hesitation, Kyogoku smashes through a glass window and steps inside, asking calmly if this is the so-called storyteller behind all this mess. He sounds almost pleased, like he finally tracked down a long overdue problem. Inside the cabin, the villain stares in disbelief. Of all people, he didn't expect Tuno to show up. He blurts out whether she is with that monster, Kyogoku. Kyogoku ignores the shock and takes in the surroundings instead. He remarks that the space is ridiculously large, way bigger than a normal train should ever be. After leaving Tuno with Kuchi-sake earlier, he explored the structure and figured something out. This isn't raw power, it's spatial manipulation. The tracks and trains can be created freely, sure, but that's about it. At best, this place is a giant cage. It can trap people, but it can't directly strike them down. Then Kyogoku looks straight at him and calls him out. Hirasaku is nothing but a runner, a guy who hides behind tricks and lets the environment do the dirty work. He says Tono has been under protection this whole time, and now he is about to finish this properly. Hirasaku's jaw tightens. He warns Kyogoku not to underestimate him. Just because he avoids direct combat doesn't mean he is weak. That word hits him harder than it should. He flashes back to a time when he tried to prove himself. Back then, he stood over a man he was supposed to unearth, his hands trembling while someone mocked him from behind. Aniki told him not to choke and the pressure crushed him. He failed miserably. After that humiliation, Hizuraku Sato was fired from the Yakuza. His boss told him flat out that he wasn't cut out for this life, and should go live quietly somewhere else. Sato snapped back, asking if they were looking down on him after just 1 month. He insisted he could do it. He needed to prove himself as a man, but his boss didn't budge. He said the world is dark, and soft guys like Sato don't belong in it. He called him soft, pure, childish. Like sugar. That word stuck. Sugar. Sweet, fragile, harmless. Sato carried that insult with him on the train ride home. He realized he had been seen as weak his entire life, even as a kid. That was the whole reason he joined the Yakuza in the first place, so people would stop looking down on him. As he sat there drowning in those thoughts, someone asked him if he wanted power, and he said yes. That power dragged him here. Once he gained control of Kisaragi Station, he pulled in the very people who mocked him. His boss, Aniki. He didn't even need to dirty his own hands. He let them rot inside the system and collapse from their own weakness. He told himself it wasn't fear that made him delegate the killing to Hashiaku, it was efficiency. He insists he has ended many lives. Hashiaku wasn't even human, so what did it matter? Back in the present, Sato stands up slowly, eyes burning. He says he will unearth Kyogoku and Tono with his own hands. This time, ending lives is his thing. That is what he does best. As he declares it, the entire train begins to turn pitch black, metal darkening as if soaked in ink. The space itself reacts to his anger. Tono immediately tells Kyogoku to stand back. Sato laughs and says he is not some sugar-soft weakling anymore. He is pitch black now, full of vigor. He absorbed Hashiaku's power too. Kisaragi Station has evolved. He claims the train will keep running for days, forcing them to collapse from exhaustion before they can even touch him. Kyogoku tries to break further into the train, but the windows have hardened like steel. The structure is reinforcing itself. Tono watches carefully, thinking through their options while the entire world around them shifts under Satu's control. The cage just got thicker, and Satu is convinced this time he won't be the one running. Satu spreads his arms and tells Kyogoku and Tono to take a good look at the dark, ominous thing surrounding them. He asks them what they think about it, then proudly declares that this is his true form. Tono squints at it for a second and calls it gross without hesitation. She studies him and says he is giving off that don't get close energy, like someone who finally beat their weakness and won't shut up about it. Then she drops the real punch. Wasn't it just a coincidence that he got tied to Kisaragi Station? It's not like he is special. He is like a kid bragging that his dad knows the president of a TV station. Satu freezes, clearly not used to being talked to like that. Tono keeps going, saying he hides behind tricks while making others do the dirty work. Maybe he is just a coward. Actually, maybe he is a super lame coward at that. That hits. He snaps back saying he will unearth her. Tono shrugs and says she doesn't end people's lives, so she will at least give him a warning first. She is going to tear this train apart and beat him. Kawagoku tries smashing the window again, but the glass doesn't even crack. Sato mocks them, saying they can punch all day and still won't leave a scratch. Kyogoku admits it is pointless, but Tono calmly tells him no one said he had to punch the glass. He asks what else they are supposed to do. She tells him to wait for the right moment. Tono looks around and says this world has no visible end. Sato corrects her, saying this isn't the real world. It is Kisaragi Station. Its spatial creation power is infinite. She asks if he plans to make the train run out of fuel. He laughs and says the train doesn't run on electricity. For all they know, it has traveled 1,000 kilometers already, maybe 10,000. Even Kyogoku didn't see that coming. Satu lounges back on a sofa inside the train like he already won. He tells them to rack their empty brains all they want. It is useless. A woman and a monkey trying to outthink him. He says they don't call it monkey wisdom for nothing. Kyogoku flares up immediately and tells him not to insult monkeys like that. Tono shuts him down on the spot and calls him an idiot. She says she will think, and he needs to move forward. Then she orders him to flip the train over. Kyogoku braces himself and pushes with everything he has, but the train doesn't budge. Sato laughs and calls it monkey wisdom again. There is no way brute strength alone can flip something that massive. Tano ignores him and tells Kyogoku to show some guts. Sato keeps poking, saying once you strip away brute strength, all that is left is brute stupidity. Kyogoku finally steps back in frustration. Tono looks annoyed at him, and he complains that she treats him terribly. He says guts alone won't flip a train. Tono fires back that she will report him to the animal rights group if he keeps whining. Satu laughs again, convinced he has already won. He says they are destined to be unearthed here. Kyogoku suggests chasing him, but Tono says it is pointless. There is nothing else to do right now. Satu calls her dumb and says her big plan was just brute monkey strength. He tells her it is over. The train keeps moving while he declares himself the strongest. Then, out of nowhere, another train slams straight into his. The impact shatters everything. Metal explodes outward, and Satu is thrown clear of the wreckage. He stumbles out in shock, barely understanding what just happened. Before he can recover, Tono steps forward and plants her foot right on his face. Calmly, she says it went exactly as planned. As promised, she smashed him to pieces. Satu demands to know how she did it. The train appeared out of nowhere. Tano admits she only knew the theory, so she was a little worried it might fail. But it worked. She explains the collision course phenomenon. In car accidents, when two vehicles approach at an intersection, distance perception gets distorted. It can look like the other car is standing still when it is actually speeding toward you. The train that hit him was always there. It was in plain sight the whole time. It just looked far enough away that he dismissed it. Sato argues that something that distant shouldn't have crashed so perfectly. Tano nods and says that is why she adjusted the distance on her end. He asks if she was never trying to flip the train in the first place. She stares at him and asks if he seriously believed that was the plan. Still lying there, he realizes it was a bluff. He insists it was coincidence. If the tracks had curved even slightly, none of this would have happened. Tono reminds him that she entered this world earlier and observed everything. She rode on Kyogoku and scouted the terrain. She memorized every track layout in this space, every straight line, every intersection, every angle. She planned the crash from the start. Sato can't accept losing to someone he dismissed as a stupid-looking woman. Kyogoku steps forward and says it looks like Sato was even dumber than monkey wit. Tono corrects him immediately. She says she is the one who thought this through, and she did. Before Satu can even react, Kisaragi Station starts collapsing in front of him. The whole twisted space folds in on itself like it never existed. Tano casually praises Kyogoku, saying that was a big one. He grins and says it was a massive feast. Meanwhile, Sei and Kuchi-sake watch the station dissolve as Kyogoku devours the entire thing. In seconds, the warped world is gone, and they're standing back in the ordinary train depot like nothing ever happened. The two teams spot each other almost instantly. Siki and Tono lock eyes, then run toward each other at the same time. They both ask if the other is okay, talking over one another. Tono says they did it. They didn't lose. Siki thanks her and says she saved him, but she immediately asks if he's mad because she came late. He turns away and spots Haru lying on the ground, and that wipes the mood clean. Sei rushes over to Haru and checks his pulse, relieved to see he's alive. He feels a strange mix of happiness and guilt, knowing he managed to grant Hashiaku's wish. Tano walks over and asks who this kid is. After Sei explains everything, she tells him none of this is his fault. He asks if there's any chance Sato survived, maybe if his scattered power somehow pulls back together. Tano shuts that down immediately. Satu is gone. His terror was consumed. Then he was devoured by Kisaragi Station, and then Kyogoku ate the station. She asks him if putting beef back together makes it a cow again. Sei stays quiet after that. Haru slowly wakes up and asks about Hashiaku, the one who always helped him. He wants to know where she is. Sei struggles to find the right words, but Tono steps in and tells Haru that such a person doesn't exist. Maybe it was a dream. The previous facility had some strange issues, and now he's being transferred. There were no young female nurses there either. Haru looks confused, but nods slowly. Sei tries to tell the truth, but Tono stops him. She says this is better. The terror attached to him is gone, and he's free now. She asks Sei if he really wants to drag an elementary school kid into all of this. That hits. Sei gives up arguing. Later, Tono explains the hospital paperwork will be annoying, but Haru will be fine. Kuchi-sake notices Sei standing there looking heavy, and Tono snaps at him for sulking. Sei finally admits Haru reminded him of someone. When his parents disappeared, he was left alone. Then terror showed up and clung to him one-sidedly. Nothing good came from it. Haru just happened to be sick. She just happened to catch the eye of something terrible. If that hadn't happened, maybe she could have lived normally. Maybe she would have had someone living beside her, eating meals together, clinging around like it was nothing. He asks himself why he couldn't save them. Tano tells him Haru was saved and that's what matters. Kuchi-sake quietly agrees, and they decide to head home. Sei asks if she must be exhausted too. Instead of answering, she starts crying and hugs him tight. He asks why she's crying, but she doesn't respond. Later at the hospital, Haru stares out the window and wonders if it was all a dream, but she knows it wasn't. Hashiaku was real. Someday she promises herself she'll thank her properly. Just when everyone thinks it's over, Sato is still wandering through narrow streets muttering that this isn't finished. He says he'll corner them eventually. Suddenly, a girl with one eye covered steps out of the shadows. Sato smirks and says he almost forgot about her. She calmly tells him his terror is gone. He insists he's done enough in this world. He's unearthed so many people that he's getting used to it now. He even jokes about rejoining the gang. Before he can say another word, she slices his throat clean with a sharp tool. She says she needs to report this to the boss. Sato drops without ceremony. No drama, just done. Meanwhile, Tano is at home in the kitchen, starving. She pulls out every packet of ramyun she owns and sighs because she's tired of the usual flavors, so she decides to experiment. She boils them for 5 minutes instead of 3 because she likes them soft. Steam fogs her glasses, so she takes them off like it's some serious cooking showdown. Then she stares at the seasoning packets like she's about to solve world peace. She starts mixing them. Half soy sauce, 1/4 tonkatsu, 1/4 salt. She debates adding curry too, and finally says why not. She tosses in random vegetables because presentation matters. She calls it her original Yankee blend and thanks herself for the meal. First bite hits, and she freezes. It's insane. Restaurant level good. The noodles soaked everything up perfectly. She burps loud and keeps eating while Kyogoku bangs on the door begging for a bowl. The next day, Sei and Nanomi are walking when she notices he's going the wrong way. She asks where he's headed, and he tells her not to follow him. He has personal business. She mocks him and asks since when someone like him has personal business. He ignores her and heads to the hospital. Haru lights up when she sees him. She can walk a little now. She shows him a drawing she made, and it's Hashiaku. She says this is the lady who helped her. Sei realizes there's no way she'll forget, so he tries to draw Hashiaku himself. It's awful. Nanomi looks at it and asks what crime that drawing committed. Even Haru looks confused and wonders if the lady wasn't human after all. The counselor says the same thing. Maybe it was just illness. Maybe she should accept reality, but Sei doesn't want her to forget. He figures there has to be another way, so he asks Nanomi to change clothes. She stares at him like he's insane, but she does it anyway. She dresses up like Hashiaku, though she's clearly shorter. Tsubai whispers lines to her, and she repeats them awkwardly. She tells Haru it's been a while. She says she helps lots of patients secretly, and that she's happy Haru is getting better. She says she has another patient waiting and can't stay. Haru smiles and thanks her. Later, Nanomi asks what that was all about, but Tsubai brushes it off. When he gets home, Kuchi-sake is waiting. He thinks maybe that was the right thing to do. Hashiaku isn't here anymore, but at least Haru smiled. Kuchi-sake asks what's wrong, and he says she wouldn't understand. She calmly says he was kind today. He asks how she knows. She says she saw everything. He turns confused and asks what that means. A few days later, a guy is sitting at a table reading the newspaper when a monster girl slowly peeks out from behind a door. She apologizes in a small voice and asks if he's still mad at her. She says she made dinner and suggests they eat together. The guy doesn't even look at her properly and says he has no intention of getting along with her. He tells her to get lost and calls her a monster. The girl walks away quietly, tears sliding down her face. The guy grips the paper tighter and thinks he has to defeat Terror Knight. He has to end this chain of curses and wipe out every monster. That's the only way forward. Suddenly, Tsubai wakes up and stares at the ceiling, wondering if that was just a dream. Before he can think too hard about it, Kuchi-sake calls out that the pudding they chilled has set. His mood flips instantly. He jumps out of bed like someone just announced free food. The two of them sit down and absolutely destroy the pudding like they haven't eaten in days. It's sweet, cold, and perfect. After finishing, they wash the dishes together. Kuchi-sake says the pudding tastes better when they eat it side by side. Seiki agrees without thinking. Still, something feels off. He has this faint feeling that he's forgetting something important, but he can't quite grab it. After a moment, Sei asks Kuchi-sake for a favor. He asks if she wants to make peace with Kyogoku. He reminds her that they helped before, and asks if that basically makes them allies already. Kuchi-sake says she only cooperated back then because she was desperate to save him. When Sei thinks about it though, Tono and Kyogoku have always shown up when things get serious. Kuchi-sake quietly says she wants to thank them properly. Maybe even be friends, if that's okay. Sei tells her they probably already think of her as one, so the two of them head over to Tono's place. Sen nudges Kuchi-sake and tells her to ring the bell, but before she can, Kyogoku drops down from above and tells them to wait. He asks why they're making a scene in front of his place. Sen looks up and asks if he lives on the roof. Kyogoku stares at him and asks if he doesn't know how a doorbell works. He offers to press it for them like they're toddlers. Sein explains they came to make peace, which completely throws Kyogoku off. He says everyone knows what kind of person Tano is. She hates occult stuff. There's no way she'll casually be friends with a monster like Kuchi-sake. He adds that doesn't mean he wouldn't help though. He says he'd be her friend as a lackey if needed. Kuchi-sake flatly replies she wasn't talking about being friends with him. That stings a little. Subai jumps in and says that even if they're terrors with dangerous powers, the core of who they are is still human, so they should be able to get along like normal people. Kyogoku gets annoyed and says he's not buying that. He claims Kuchi-sake only thinks about her guy and that she's exactly the type other women don't like. Sei asks him what women's magazine he pulled that opinion from. Before Kyogoku can respond, Kuchi-sake presses the doorbell. Tono opens the door and immediately asks if Kuchi-sake came to compete again. Kuchi-sake shakes her head and says she wants to talk about what happened at Kisaragi Station. Kyogoku tries to comment, but Tono shuts him up instantly. Kuchi-sake says if it wasn't for Tono, she and Sei wouldn't even be standing here right now. That's why she came to say thank you. She nervously asks if Tono is going to tease her again. Tono says she's the one in trouble now. She asks if Kuchi-sake seriously came all this way just to thank her. Tono says she doesn't even feel like she deserves it. Then she steps aside and asks if they want to come in. Kuchi-sake lights up and agrees right away. Kyogoku mutters that if Tono says so, he'll acknowledge it. He says even though the fresh terror he represents and her moldy one don't match, they can be friends. The three completely ignore him and walk inside. Kyogoku stands there yelling for them to let him in too. Tono casually tells him terror isn't allowed in her house. Inside, Tono says this is actually good timing because she was about to contact them. She explains they've found a new terror and plan on going hunting soon. As they talk, Kuchi-sake notices the school uniforms hanging nearby and keeps staring at them. Tono asks why she's looking at them like that. Kuchi-sake admits they're cute. Tono rolls her eyes and says they're stiff and uncomfortable. Still, she asks if Kuchi-sake wants to try one on. Kuchi-sake agrees immediately, practically glowing. A few moments later, she steps out wearing the uniform and asks Sei how she looks. He gives a calm not bad, which instantly annoys Tono. She tells him to compliment her properly. Kuchi-sake quietly says she's jealous because she can't go to school like that. Tono realizes there's real longing in her voice. Subai asks Tono to take a picture as a keepsake. Tono snaps a surprisingly stunning photo of Kuchi-sake in uniform. For a moment it really does look like a normal group of high school friends. Then another girl suddenly appears and says she went to the same high school. She asks if Tono goes there too, and says she wishes the three of them could have experienced school life together. She's sure it would have been amazing every single day. Sei watches the scene unfold and thinks this should feel like a beautiful moment, but something about it feels wrong, and he can't shake that feeling. Miki looks at Kuchi-sake, realizing that she has made up her mind. Kuchi-sake, on the other hand, is taken aback, asking Sei what she should do. Sei looks at the axe, knowing that with it, they can finally save Miki. Miki, on the other hand, lashes out, bringing her tail down on Kuchi-sake and telling her to kneel, but surprisingly, she does not budge. She uses her scythe to deflect the tail and send it sideways. Then she starts aura farming, creating a sea of black flames around her and asking if she is strong. Miki wonders if she is really trying to kill her, and if that is the case, then she will go all out as well. But Sei interrupts, telling her that killing is not optional anymore. They are going to bring her back to who she was. She is about to be freed from the curse of terror. Miki is surprised because never in her long life has she offered this solution. She tells them it is impossible and that they are destined to die here. It is because Kuchi-sake is bound to humans and because she is dependent on them. Her storyteller is also her weakness, and it is why the host will also die. Kuchi-sake tells her to stop it. That is not true. She gains strength whenever Sei is here, and because of Sei they can finally save her. She feels it in her bones that it will happen. Miki laughs sadistically, asking if they should put it to the test. Subai realizes that the horror has a weird characteristic. It is about humans being swallowed by the cursed serpent. Even a story that the great serpent is actually called Dara. If that is actually true, then they are really in danger. Sure enough, Miki swings her tail at full throttle, telling the humans to come back and die, but Subai calls out to his Pokemon, telling her to slash the thing's waist and separate Miki from the serpent. Kuchi-sake springs into action, scythe in hand and determination in her eyes. She zooms toward Miki and swings her scythe. Time seems to slow as Miki is separated from her serpent body. Scaly tendrils wrap around her wrist, desperate and trying to cling to her again. The tail that was swinging toward Sei dissipates in a column of smoke, and the serpent also starts evaporating. They turn to look at the frail little girl lying unconscious. Miki is finally free from the serpent, and Kuchi-sake asks if she is okay. She finally opens her eyes and looks at the duo with tearful expressions. She says she was having a scary dream, and asks if they really woke her up. Kuchi-sake smiles, telling Miki-chan that she is finally back to normal, but she spoke too soon. Miki starts evaporating just like the serpent. Kuchi-sake starts worrying about her legs and Sue wonders why. They cut her from the terror, so why is she disappearing? That must mean that the terror included the humans being consumed. And if that is the case, then Miki, His voice trails off. They can tell that the malice within her is now gone. She is no longer a terror, so she is bound to disappear. Kuchi-sake yells at Miki to stop lying. She just returned to normal, and now she is talking about disappearing. Miki apologizes, but this is farewell. Even though they finally became friends, Kuchi-sake is overwhelmed with emotions, and her mouth splits open as she apologizes, saying she could not keep the promise to live together. Sake looks away in horror and anger. He really thought that they had finally saved someone this time. A voice asks him if he is really grieving. Humans are creatures that only betray one another. She asks C if he really wanted to save her, or if he wanted to abandon her and run away. C yells that it is not true. He wanted Miki to live, and she knows it. Even if she was betrayed, even if abandoned, she could have found happiness after an eternity of solitude. Miki still calls him out on his human ideals, acting condescending, but she already knows the truth. She also tells Kuchi-sake that she has it rough, and that is why she hates humans. Then she evaporates in a column of mist, leaving Kuchi-sake with a hole in her heart. Meanwhile, Sei's father is riding away. He notices the support stick of the serpent monster evaporating, and he understands that it has been defeated. Just then, his car starts wobbling uncontrollably. Kyugoku and Hizuruki arrive. They have come pretty far, but she still sees something weird. He is going the wrong way. Sure enough, he arrives at a large, luxury modern mansion. Hizuruki murmurs what the hell is going on. It does not feel like a situation where they can just burst in. He also asks Kyugoku why she is irritated. He is her partner, so he can tell. Kyugoku reveals that it is a pseudo-relic. It is a religion disguised as an occult organization. A strange figure welcomes Sei's father. The girl asks if Ranji wants to meet her, or if food and a bath are planned for tonight. Ranji declares that he will meet the girl. The two have followed him, but they do not want to throw hands anymore. He has something more important on his mind. He is led to a gas chamber where numerous grotesque blobs are forming. Someone meets with Ranji, asking if she is dead. The Konkandara has finally died, and his face says it all. Ranji claps back that he is supposed to be a closed book, so how could she tell? The woman just laughs. After all, the test subject was meant to be used with something stronger. As long as the monster's intensified spine remains, she decides to move on to the next phase. She also wonders if Renji got attached to a curse. Renji looks at her with dead eyes. He will comply with whatever the final plan is, and he will also let them die, as many as it takes. The woman has decided to execute a terror application. Meanwhile, Kuchi-sake is having a tearful farewell with Miki. They will always be together in spirit, and Sei tries to console her. He even offers to call her Seiki the way Miki used to, and Kuchi-sake just smiles. All of a sudden, something strange starts happening. Saki's eyes start darkening, and she begins shaking. She inhales all of the smoke left by Miki, and turns into something even more grotesque. It's the year 1978. Saki is having a dream about a black-haired girl looking at a forest. A man calls out to her asking what she is doing. She's been standing here for more than an hour. It's getting late, and they should get down from the mountain. It'll also get colder soon. He gently takes off his scarf and tells the girl that it's an old scarf that he doesn't need anymore. She can use it. As the man leaves, he wishes he could have said something kinder. Even at this age, his people skills are those of a toddler. It feels as if he's forcing gratitude. But the girl is still touched as she wraps the scarf around her neck. The coldest hearts can be warmed by the scruffiest of scarves. Ask Mikasa. The girl starts following the guy, and the guy tells her that only his rented cabin is at the end of the road. The girl introduces herself as Saki. She's a terror battling in the Terror Night. The man freezes. He dials someone and hears about a lightning strike at the main hall. It even hit a sacred object, and the monsters are starting to run rampant. He turns to see Saki standing at the edge of the doorway, mouth spread ear to ear. Later, he reaches the shrine, and all of the priests greet him with respect, telling him it's gotten bad. They view the sight, and soon enough, a grotesque blob of flesh is lying there, faintly resembling a fetus. The seal that has protected it for 1,000 years has been broken. It has manifested a cursed deity that materializes negative emotions, giving it shape and thought, and creating specters around the world. The man also reveals that he's been possessed. It's a fortunate coincidence, but he is a storyteller to bring this entire circle to a close. He wants to take down these monsters and minimize the harm to humans. He wonders about the terror of the night. The ritual to create the cursed god has already begun. Seti wakes up with a jolt. It's not an ordinary dream, and no matter how much he thinks about it, it really happened in 1978. His grandpa got together with Saki, the past Kuchi-sake, and the Terror Night started. He wonders about creating a cursed god. He also looks at Kuchi-sake, smiling, creating breakfast for him. Everything about her has turned back to normal. He thought that was the end of their peaceful life when she started crashing out. Before she could fully transform into a terror, she passed out cold in his arms. When she woke up, everything was back to normal. There's still so much he doesn't understand. He looks at his sister, dozing off in the middle of her lunch. Saki, under their hands, feels herself slipping. Her eyes turn dark as well, and Miya-sama swirls around her. She quickly gets a grip of herself, and Saki asks if everything is fine. "Is Kuchi-sake okay?" She just smiles, telling him that it's fine. Later he gets a call from Hizaruki who asks if he's safe. Safe angrily asks why he didn't contact him. He was worried sick about him. Kyogoku takes the phone, saying that there have been a lot of changes. The old man that she was following was lost to her, and something important also came up. She might not be able to get in touch for a while, and wanted to tell him not to worry. When he tells her about that flag and everything, she pauses. She tells Tsubai to focus on school and not to interfere in things that he shouldn't. Tsubai hangs up and looks at the screen for a full minute. He can feel that she is lying. She is getting herself into something dangerous and he really wants to do something. He knows that something has started to change. Some things have started to distort. A mysterious figure walks through the streets with black flames flickering around him. Later, at school, his classmate tells him that a new class fellow is coming in. Two guys arrive saying that they are terrorists, called Rayom and Sukuna. Both of them are fruity as well, calling themselves twin princes. They all look at him in horror, wondering what in the zesty culture is going on. Tsubai looks at the new students being absolute idiots, talking about mayonnaise and sauces. Nanomi wonders what's up with those guys. These seem strange or maybe European, and they also said that they are terrors, but they look like humans. The only thing terrible about them is their $5 haircut and zesty way of talking. Are they even monsters? Sake tells them not to be fooled. They call themselves Rayom and Sukuna. It's a cursed Siamese twin idol that is worshipped in an occult religion. It has been there since the High Era, and a lot of people were locked in a room and forced to kill each other. The surviving body was enshrined upon them, thus creating the idol, and it said that the power is immense. A lot of natural disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, and volcanic explosions, are tied to the idol, but looking at the two airheaded idiots, it's hard to think they are connected to such a fearsome idol in any way. What they really are is twins. He tells Nanomi to head home first. He needs to snoop around and ask what's going on. He then approaches the duo, asking why they call themselves a curse. Is this some kind of Indian joke, or are they just occult nerds? Both of them shoot out of their chairs, realizing that he is talking to them. Hajime tells Omari that it looks like their prey is finally here, and they're glad. They really are terrors. C freezes. He didn't expect them to really be terrors, he was just shooting in the dark. Did they target him on purpose, and now he is facing them alone? So he really needs his own Pokemon. He looks around and realizes that the school is entirely empty, abandoned. Omari and Hajime square up, walking towards Sei. They grab his shoulder and his face turns pale, wondering if he's going to be handling two swords today. Nanomi, on the other hand, wonders if Sei is going to come or not. She decides to head home alone but spots Kuchi-sake smiling sadistically and looking at a cleaver. She runs towards Kuchi-sake, asking what she is doing there, and she needs to put that thing away. Kuchi-sake, out of the blue, wonders if she is strange. Honestly, a teenage girl holding a cleaver in front of the middle school is anything but strange. Nanomi tells her to stop acting like a sassy baka, but Kuchi-sake wonders if Sei feels the same way. Nanomi tells her to go ask him herself. Kuchi-sake is having doubts. Should she distance herself from Sei? She's noticed how she's changing. The terrible, ominous thing inside of her keeps growing bigger and bigger. She wonders if this is how Miki also felt. She's not just some hideous monster with a split mouth, but she's something more. She turns to Nanomi, asking if her smile is creepy, or if her existence is a burden, etc. Because at this rate she'll be abandoned. Tears pool around her eyes. She doesn't want to be abandoned by anyone. She pleads with Nanomi not to leave her. Nanomi is taken aback by her low self-esteem. Is she losing it? Kuchi-sake still looks at Nanomi for validation, asking if it's true. Nanomi burst out that it's not. It's just a rotten old bond. It's rotted and returned to the earth a long time ago. But still, Kuchi-sake is giving major Yandere vibes, saying anyone who gets close to Sei will be receiving all 8 inches of her blade. Nanomi doesn't want to be caught up in this freak show and decides to leave. So before she can leave, Kuchi-sake walks up asking if it is really a rotten bond. Meanwhile, Sei is being ushered by the twins into a shed. He just can't understand why terrors are cornering a mere human. When they're finally there, Hajime tells Sei it's in perfect condition. He's lost in thought about terrors. Terror is actually a curse that latches onto humans and uses them as storytellers to unleash their full potential. A terror without a storyteller is nothing. They tell Sei that they don't have a storyteller yet. On top of that, they only woke up recently and have not consumed a single terror, so they're no different than humans. In reality, they hesitate for a moment and tell Sebi that they want him to be their teller. Sebi freezes, though he's flattered, but he can't. Omari tells Sebi that he's famous because he's the one who drew out the power of Kuchi-sake, the strongest storyteller. Sebi still can't wrap his head around what's happening, and just then Kuchi-sake arrives, walking slowly towards them. Tsubai wonders what's up with the uniform. Where did she get that? Kuchi-sake, on the other hand, asks the twins if they were really trying to take Sake away from her. One of them smiles, ready to separate her, but she also smiles in return. Not a kind smile, but the one creepy smile that sent children crying to their mommies. Kuchi-sake looks at them stone cold. She slowly tells them they're not separating, no matter what. Owari and Hajime, on the other hand, are dead set on getting Sei for themselves. Kuchi-sake understands how it is. All she needs to do is have them disappear, and everything will solve itself on its own. She raises her cleaver, and immediately the two sensible ones of the four arrive. Sei grabs and drags away Kuchi-sake, while Owari grabs and drags away his brother. Sei asks what she is doing. They don't have any powers. They're basically infants, and she's trying to cut them down with a machete. Kuchi-sake turns tearful, asking why he is protecting them. Are they more important to him, or does he like them better than her? Sei wonders what she is saying, but she still can't forgive him. She decides to settle it with a contest. Anything goes, and they will decide who Sei belongs to. If she wins, he will always stay with her, and they can even kill her if they want. Both of the brothers turn serious, and Tsubai tells Kuchi-sake to stop talking. She's making everything worse. Kuchi-sake, on the other hand, smiles softly. She doesn't care if she dies, but she cannot stand being separated from him. Tsubai's face turns pale. She's not listening to him anymore, and is completely out of control. It looks like she is dead set on completing the challenge. Hajime yells that she has taken the bait, but Owari reminds him that it doesn't matter in this duel. But still, a legendary class terror has challenged him, and his pride won't allow him to run away as a prince. Suki and Four Eyes wonder what the hell he is talking about. Is it even possible for terrors to be delusional? A mysterious figure arrives, asking Kuchi-sake to hand over her uniform. Nanomi is there, rocking Kuchi-sake's usual gown and missing her uniform. Turns out they swapped clothes for God knows what reason. Kuchi-sake had forcibly taken her uniform, and now that she has given it back, she decides to call it a day. She also asks Kuchi-sake for an explanation about that cloth swap. Kuchi-sake has nothing to say, and she trails behind them while dragging her feet. Soi whispers, asking if everything is alright. The terrors are coming to attack him, but he is used to it. Nanomi reveals that Kuchi-sake is losing herself slowly and gradually. She was a monster to begin with, but it's strange after treating her as a human all this time for her to go back. She is worried about being abandoned by Sei and is pretty distressed. If she gets abandoned, she would rather take Sei's life and make herself unalive than be separated. Night falls, and Sei tosses and turns in his bed. It's already 1 a.m. in the morning, and when he turns, he looks at a dark figure peeking at him from behind the cupboard. Sei's face turns pale as the mysterious figure launches herself at him, but it turns out it's only Kuchi-sake, who is glad that she will be sleeping in Sei's bed today. She smiles from ear to ear. She apologizes for waking him up, and Sei wonders if something is wrong. She is acting weird lately, so he noticed. She whispers she is trying to hide it, but she can't. Tsubai reassures her that he is not going anywhere and asks why she is so worried about being abandoned. If she is so worried, then she needs to stay by his side, always close to him. Kuchi-sake starts trembling, telling Tsubai that she can't control herself anymore. The darkness within her keeps growing, and she loves Tsubai so much that it's maddening. Her love for Tsubai is growing so much that it's turning bitter. She feels that it's a curse. She pleads with C not to hang out with the other two curses, and will he accept her, be only his. She wants to be closer, seeing as the Suzy position she's put herself in isn't up to 10C over the edge. The next day, Kuchi-sake is clinging to C like his shadow, way too close. Even the professor remarks that someone's behind her. The twins are also looking at them, wondering what's happening. It's great that they can defeat her now. Nanomi, on the other hand, is hiding behind a corner, asking for her uniform to be returned. Kuchi-sake hides behind Sei, and everyone wonders what is happening, why he has an extra strap with him. Sei tells everyone not to interact with her and just go around their day. The professor greets everyone and starts taking attendance. Everyone sits, including Kuchi-sake. The only difference is that she's sitting behind Sei on the floor. The professor decides not to pay her any mind. He also notices the class is quieter today. Later, PE arrives. Owari tells Tsubai that it looks like he's a mess. He can't even control Kuchi-sake, and that increases their chances of her throwing hands with Hajime. Hajime arrives, acting all buddy-buddy with C, wrapping his arm around and asking if he's thought about their offer. Kuchi-sake lashes out, telling him not to get close. They both stand at a standstill. Hajime yells that she reeks of ulterior motives and is an embarrassment for a terror. Kuchi-sake yells that they should settle it with a contest to see who Sei belongs to, or they might have to fight to the death like proper terrors. As things are turning south, Owari throws them a baseball bat and a ball. He wants them to have a game of baseball. He also apologizes for his idiotic brother. First up, Hajime is bowling, and Kuchi-sake tries her best to hit it, but the bat freezes at an unnatural angle. Nanomi starts commenting on the bat, and Sei freezes as Hajime goes for the second pitch. Just then, Kuchi-sake dodges the blow, and everyone freezes. A brawl breaks out, and Kuchi-sake finds it unacceptable. She is trying to hit Hajime with everything she's got. 5 seconds later, they were both kneeling in front of them, apologetic as hell. Sei can't keep managing this nonsense. They need to lose these twins and stabilize Kuchi-sake. Arori reads his mind and decides to settle it with a contest. They will play a game of hide and seek. Both Arori and Seek will hide while their respective teammates seek and try to catch them. Hajime will chase Seek and Kuchi-sake will chase him. Whoever catches their target first wins. At this level, the playing field is even between them. Seek raises an eyebrow. A match that doesn't risk anyone dying. It's too good to be true. Kuchi-sake accepts it. If she wins, she never wants to see their smug faces ever again. The pompous boy, on the other hand, wants to pair up with Sei if he wins. So it's decided, and as soon as the clock ticks 7, they will start. Both the twins move away to have a strategy meeting, and Sei looks at Kuchi-sake, giving off a massive murderous aura. She can't forgive them and wants to kill them and tear them apart. Subai walks closer and grabs her mask, pulling it and letting it go to snap her into reality. She reminds Subai not to do that, and Subai tells her that her face was scary. She needs to stop saying dangerous stuff. After all, they're not monsters. Enough with the fighting between terrors. All she needs to do is think about him. After they wrap this up, they can quickly get home. Kuchi-sake smiles, relieved that he still wants to be with her. When the time starts, Subai quietly jogs into the school. He needs to get away from the starting point. He wonders if he should run or hide or what. In any case, Kuchi-sake and Hajime's physical abilities are completely different. He also notices Owari sprinting next to him in the building next door. He grabs his phone and calls his brother, telling him that Sei is on the 3rd floor. Sei yells what the hell is he doing, but his brother is already on his way to catch Sei. Sei calls him a dirty little liar. Is this what he meant when he said anything goes? Owari reminds Sei that he could have hidden in the hallway all this time and given his brother instructions, but he's still sprinting next to Sei because he wants to see his angry face. Sei yells how he can be so twisted, and is he really planning to run alongside him? Owari reminds Sei that the game is in the bag. It's for his own good not to fail. He can blame himself for not understanding the rules of the game. After all, they're willing to do anything, even kill Kuchi-sake to get to him. Sei hasn't decided to lose yet. He pulls up his phone, deciding to give this four-eyed freak a taste of his own medicine. Owari reminds Sei that Kuchi-sake can't use modern electronics, and she doesn't even have a cell phone. He knows that she doesn't have it, but Nanomi does, and currently, her phone is with Kuchi-sake. Kuchi-sake picks it up and is glad to see his face, but Sei tells her to snap out of it. She needs to run towards the 3rd floor of the old building. That's where she'll get the target. She will lead herself to victory. Hajime is trying his best to catch up to Kuchi-sake, but she is in a league of her own. He yells at his brother that she is moving way too fast for him. She might as well be Wally West, and she is heading towards him. Owari curses and tries to run away. Suchi starts live feeding his opponent's whereabouts to Kuchi-sake, saying that Four Eyes are coming up to the 3rd floor. She needs to track him down and give him a whooping. Owari realizes that the tables have turned. He tells Soji that he doesn't know the layout of the school that well now, does he? He hurls a bucket towards So, crashing a window next to him and promptly summoning the professor, asking what is all that goddamn noise. This distracts So and gives Owari enough time to slip away. He still must be in the building, and even without his directions, Kuchi-sake should be able to corner him. He decides to leave it to her and hide somewhere for now. Owari, on the other hand, doesn't believe that things have gotten out of hand. He tells his brother to be on the lookout. He needs to hold off Kuchi-sake as soon as possible. After all, it's his job to cover for his little bro. Hajime is running just behind Kuchi-sake, asking why is she trying to win the match so desperately. Kuchi-sake vows to get rid of him and live with Soai just like normal, but Hajime wonders if it's even possible for a curse and a human to live truly together. Owari realizes his bro is trying to use psychological warfare, but it's not working. Soai being a good companion is enough to give her self-esteem. He continues to ask why she is so positive. She's a monster, and he will abandon her, but instead of panicking, she's skipping like a little girl, practically glowing with happiness. He continues to pester her, calling her a freak of the high-end era, a trendy casual, but as soon as he says poos, whatever that means, she freezes, her phone drops, and darkness swirls around her, bursting like an atomic bomb of toxicity. Owari realizes he spoke to the wrong tiger. It feels incredibly evil, and Sai tries to ask Kuchi-sake to keep her head around the goal. Hearing his voice on the phone is enough to snap her back to reality. She collapses and is not some kind of monster. Hajime tells his bro that something is wrong. She is not moving, but at least she stopped. Now they should go hunt down Sei. Sei also realizes that he needs to get a move on. Hajime leaves Kuchi-sake lying in a pool of her own darkness. Sei is still worrying about her, but he needs to get away. He spots Four Eyes walking past him, then decides to trail him. Did he escape? Kuchi-sake is pursued, and if he keeps moving, it will be harder to find him again. He decides to choose him, wondering where the older brother went. He seems to be away. He follows Owari to the rooftop, and Owari approaches. Surprisingly, he is glad that Subai decided to come to him. It saved him the trouble of catching him. After all, it's impossible to think on their own level. If he found out Owari, he would come running to him, and that's why Owari deliberately lured him to the rooftop, because in reality he is not Owari, he is Hajime, using a twin switching trick. The one who's cornered now is Sei. Kuchi-sake screams in pain as the darkness around her starts to burst, transforming into an entity of pure darkness and malevolence. It is Shadowborn. One of her eyes turns dark, and the other one still retains its own self. Sei yells, "Where is Kuchi-sake? And what the hell happened to her?" Hajime just laughs. She is in the field, and Owari has some business with her. Besides, he has his own problems to attend to. Sure enough, Owari walks up to Kuchi-sake, asking if she's already realized it. He isn't Hajime, he is Owari. He also wonders why Kuchi-sake is resisting herself as a terror. He looks down on her, telling her to give up her dreams and die. Kuchi-sake looks pitiful right now, vulnerable, less of a curse and more of a girl. Owari tells her that she needs to embrace her true self and let herself be consumed by the power of terror. After all, then she will be worth devouring. He hides a dagger behind his back, and Kuchi-sake screams that she is not a monster. She is Kuchi-sake, not some folklore kaiju. Owari tells her to come to her senses. They are monsters of folklore, and they cannot escape their destiny. He decides to tell her the tale of Riem and Sukuna. They were created as curse idols to bring calamity over people. To strengthen the curse, something was embedded in the body, and that was the remnants of the unyielding people. He further gives her a lecture that before this land became Japan, it was inhabited by numerous tribes and people. But then the Yamato people wiped them out and took over the land, calling it Japan. They are princes of the unyielding people. One of their descendants created them as creatures of terror and left a suicide note in his own blood, telling them to destroy Japan no matter what. Presently, Owari vows to take that power for himself. He grabs the dagger, ready to bring Kuchi-sake's existence to an end. On the other hand, Hajime has cornered Seifly, asking where he will run now. If CY decides to team up with him, they'll become the strongest terror and storyteller duo. It's time to end it. Isn't he tired from all the fighting? He leans closer, telling C to come with him. The way he's leaning, looking at those lips and telling him to come closer, is enough to make C refuse. He's straight as hell and he can't believe that this four-eyed wannabe is asking him to ditch Kuchi-sake and team up with him. Terror clings to them until death. That means that Kuchi-sake will have to die, and he would never let her die. He doesn't give a damn about the twins being a terror. Hajime wonders if he's really going to keep sticking up for something so dangerous, but Sai tells him that it's not something, it's a person. She is not dangerous or anything like that. They're going to put Terror Knight and Power of Terror behind them. That's why he's the one who's going to call her back. Hajime calls him naive. Looks like Hajime is not even on Sei's radar, but that's fine by him. He'll take him by force if he has to. He leans closer, dark energy curling off his suit. He's about to touch Sei, claiming him as his storyteller, but Sei leaps from the building. Hajime can't believe that he just made a leap of faith. As he's soaring through the air towards imminent demise, he calls out to Kuchi-sake. Kuchi-sake looks at Sei, falling from the second and third stories of the building. She acts on instinct, leaving the darkness plaguing her behind, as well as Owari. She zooms towards Sei, jumping from rooftop to rooftop until she grabs him. They smile, looking at each other. She knew that he would come, and she always believed in him because Sei believed in her, that she was not a monster. They wonder if something happened, but Kuchi-sake just smiles. It's nothing. Things are gonna stay like this forever and ever, because she has decided to stay with him till the end of time. Kuchi-sake smiles. They are finally on the ground in one piece. Sei, on the other hand, is shaken. But that's right, Hajime and Owari switch places with each other. It was a ploy, but they managed to save themselves. Kuchi-sake realizes that the game is still going. She leaves Sei all alone and runs towards Owari, gently patting him on the shoulder and telling him tag. Owari realizes that it's his loss, and Hajime laughs. Seriously, what is wrong with them? It looks like their game comes to an end, and so does their story. Later they switch again, realizing there is time to give up on C and Kuchi-sake. Owari, on the other hand, promises to find another storyteller, but he'll still be coming back to devour her. The twins then switch back, and Owari really wants to devour her, but Hajime has changed his mind, deciding to put it all behind them. Owari looks at his bro as if he's made the biggest betrayal since Judas. What is he getting at? What about their own long-standing wish? Hajime just smiles, saying that he doesn't care anymore, but Owari yells that he can't control himself anymore. He bursts out, telling Hajime that he's getting too soft. This is the instinct of terror. They need the hatred to consume them. Doesn't he have the urge to kill her? He can't do it anymore. All of a sudden, his brother hugs him. Watching Kuchi-sake has made them realize that they can just throw it all away. This fate, this instinct, they can mess around, live fulfilling lives just like today, and blow away the instincts of a terror. Four Eyes tell his brother not to joke around like that. They can do it, but Hajime yells that they can. He'll always be there for him. After all, his little brother's suffering is his job to help him. He should leave everything troubling to his big bro. They share a touching moment, and Kuchi-sake smiles. Tsubai decides it's getting late, so they should get back. The shady figure starts telling them about the story of the twins. They were bound by a strong bond, and one day they set off in search of a paradise, just the two of them. Their parents were furious. They had warned them not to leave the house, reminding them they were the parents' property. But the two still disobeyed, and they were hit by a truck, crushed. Both the twins' faces turn pale. What the hell was that? Owari realizes that Hajime must be on his guard. It wasn't just paper play. They were talking about the twins. They quickly try to cross the street, but someone is trying to target them. Just before they can reach the other side, trucks run awry, slamming into them and sending them flying. Though bloodied and bruised, they are whisked away by masked kidnappers. The onlooker tries to report it to the authorities. Meanwhile, the girl just smiles as both of the curses start to dissipate into the night. Later, Sud looks at the forum exploding. An old-fashioned terror has appeared on the street corners, telling Misfortune he doesn't want to meet him, even if it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He then looks at a Kuchi-sake snoring soundly, wondering if terror is even a dream. Just then, his phone starts to ring. He tries to reach Hisaruki, but something has happened, and he is not picking up. All of a sudden, Hisaruki arrives. He is looking bad, starting to dissipate into smoke. He tells Sei they have messed up bedtime, and they are disappearing. Hisaruki arrives breathless, and at the end of his life, he tells Sei that he is entrusting the rest to him, and as he disappears, Sei yells, telling him not to run away, and asking what happened to Kuchi-sake. Just then, he disappears completely. They cannot believe that he is actually gone. Through teary eyes, they look at what he entrusted to Sei. It is an SD card. He remembers how the monkey spirit handed him the SD card before dying. They try to see the feed, and as soon as it boots up, it shows Hisaruki talking with Tano. She says she is going to infiltrate with the hidden camera now. Everything is recorded with the camera and will be sent to the phone, and if anything happens to her, she needs to ensure the data gets to Sei. She turns to leave, leaving Hisaruki behind. She starts infiltrating from the front door, and she is sure that the ridiculous terror incident happening in the town is because of the fear that occurred over here. Sure enough, she comes face to face with Seaboy Raft's father. He says he heard that she wanted to meet with him, but ordinary people are not supposed to get in. He then notices the hairpin she is wearing. It belongs to the cult. It looks like she is a believer, and she smiles sweetly, calling him uncle. Tano tells him that she is not a believer, but her father was. The hairpin is something she received from him. Uncle tells her to act naturally and says she can drop the act, but she keeps smiling. She says she knows that her uncle is also a member of the cult, and she cannot possibly act rudely with someone holding such a great card. She must act respectfully. She still insists that she will open up her heart, but he tells her to stop with the nonsense. She says she is here because she has something to ask. What exactly is the cult doing with terror? The uncle tells her that it has nothing to do with her. She quietly asks how many people have died, and wonders if he is telling her to turn a blind eye. Uncle looks away, calling her a kid for not understanding. Normally people turn a blind eye, except for children who like to play hero. Her behavior, actions, and everything about her are full of lies. She might think it is cute, but she cannot get away with surface-level flattery. He has no intention of entertaining her. Tano gasps and finally reveals how her father was a strict man who disciplined her all the time and shipped her off to a boarding school. But she tried her best to live up to his expectations. All of a sudden he went to the cult and lost his mind, coming back and deciding to dedicate everything to it. That is when he disappeared without a word, and the hairpin was the only thing left to her as a birthday gift. Uncle wonders if she is searching for her father, but it is quite the opposite. Even though she is pissed off, she hates that the cult is fake, and that is why she wants to know what is really happening. The uncle finally reveals that he is a researcher. He captures, protects, and manages terrors, just like what he did with Miki. He also introduces them to storytellers, providing them with support in their lives. Depending on the quality of the terror, the response varies. He ships them out as food later, after raising them, feeding them, and letting someone else consume them. Though it sounds insane, they are trying to artificially create the ultimate terror and grow it into a weapon. It will have the most terrifying power, a being that surpasses human understanding, something akin to a god. Tano holds her breath, asking if they are really trying to create a god. There must be someone he is feeding the curses to. And just what is that thing? The man looks at her with horror. She has dug too deep, and now she cannot leave. The transmission cuts off. The last thing Sei says before it cuts off entirely is that she might be dead. The plan is already in its final phase. All they need to do is purge the little weak terrors. And now that the appetizers are done, the main course is finally here. The final piece of the puzzle is Kuchi-sake. More importantly, they have some top-secret news to share. Kamishibai has been activated, and Kuchi-sake will soon vanish. The plot thickens. Sei is furious and ballistic, asking who the hell this other party is that's starting all of this nonsense. He desperately tries to call Kyogoku, but instead of Kyogoku, a mysterious woman answers the phone. She likes to play the role of a villain, and it's called Minoru Rocky. Rocky smiles, telling Sage it's nice to meet him. Sage grits his teeth, asking why she is calling from Kyogoku's phone. Is she messing with him? Rocky just smiles. She figured he would be a little curious about little Kyogoku by now. She's alive if that's what he's wondering about, so why is he crashing out? She just called to get to know him better. After all, he's the legendary storyteller of terror, Kuchi-sake. She was wondering what kind of storyteller they were dealing with. Zoe tells Reishi to get that first impression she wants, and pass it on to that idiotic old man they are hanging out with. Using terrors for their shady schemes is off the table. Some occult group connected to her old man is what he hates the most. Raki just smiles. The strongest storyteller hates the occult. What a weird stance. Isn't he going to make good use of Kuchi-sake's powers? Sei tells Rocky he's not interested in any of that. He just wants Kuchi-sake to live a normal life. but Rocky tells him that's a waste. It's like using a flamethrower to light up a stove. If he's not going to use her power, then she'll make sure to use it appropriately. After all, she's decided on it. Sei tells Rocky that if she's so hell-bent on taking her away, he'll die for her. Rocky, on the other hand, tells him it's not necessary. She can win her over openly and take her. Subai wonders what's up with that confidence. There's a phrase in the video that caught his attention, the mention of Kami Shibai. Hearing that name is enough to make Rocky lose all of her confidence. Subai is not sure, but he knows they are trying to turn a terror into a god. And is she the storyteller? Rocky is annoyed now, calling him perspective. Her plan is to have that terror devour Kuchi-sake. Subai tells her that it's pointless. Does she really think she can win when his goddess is furious and ready to throw hands? Kuchi-sake angrily grumbles that she won't forgive them for what they did to her friend. Rocky laughs hysterically. Things are heating up. They can come over to her place anytime they want a challenge, and even if they hadn't said anything, he was coming down to take her down. Rocky smiles, saying that he's not aware of the forces he's dealing with. She is the god of terror, and they'll see how CB's goddess of terror will fare against them. We'll see whose Pokemon is stronger. She hangs up and smiles. As a storyteller, CB is third-rate. He's weak because he can't use terror as a tool, but he hasn't realized the most critical thing that she has won. Kuchi-sake angrily yells that they need to move and tear them to shreds. CB, on the other hand, knows that judging from the video, they should figure out the location quickly. What he is worried about is Kyogoku's condition. If his Haruki has disappeared, it could be for the worse. Her mind is spinning. Kyogoku looks around and realizes that she's in a cell. The eye patch girl tripped her over and took her clothes. She wonders if the data was delivered to Sei. She doesn't understand the situation at all. Speaking of the devil, the eye patch girl walks into the cell. Sei wonders what he should do. Meanwhile, Kyogoku is in her own sticky situation. It's the woman who hit her from behind, and now she's here to deliver another serving. After everything that's happening, what more can the eye patch girl want? The eye patch girl, on the other hand, is on the verge of a crash out, calling herself a criminal and a bump. She caused trouble for her master, and she needs to punish herself and lock herself up for the rest of eternity. Kyogoku wonders what's up with the girl. Why is she losing her mind and talking to herself? She calls the girl, asking if she's awake. She's covered in wounds all over and is a mess. So what happened? The eye patch girl tells Kyogoku that it's her fault. Because of her secret filming, the existence of the terror god has been exposed to the outside world, and she's the one who revealed it, so she needs to be punished. She begs the heavens for punishment, and Kyogoku smiles. It looks like she is full of guilt and wants to suffer. If that is so, she needs to take her clothes off. Without missing a beat, she takes them off, ready to get that punishment. Kyogoku smiles sadistically, wondering what kind of freaky punishment she is about to deliver. It turns out she just wanted her clothes so that she could walk around. As she is about to leave, Eye Patch Girl tells her to wait. She can't bear her sins anymore and wants to be punished again. Kyogoku angrily stutters that she is like an abandoned party, and what she should do is stop blaming herself. She asks for the girl's name, and it's Sherry. She introduces herself as Kyogoku, and if Sherry wants to come along, she's welcome. Sherry feels something warm bubbling inside of her, something that has never emerged till now. Acceptance and warmth. Sherry and Tano are snooping around the headquarters, walking from corridor to corridor, hoping no one catches them out in the night. Sherry is guiding her through the facility, telling her to come on and even calling her Uni-sama. Tano wonders why she is calling her Uni-sama, when she never agreed to that. Sherry just reasons that she is the superior of the two, so it's only natural. She has already washed her hands of the cult, and is excited for a new chapter of life with Uni-sama. Tano is surprised, asking what the terror of becoming a god is. Sherry smiles, but all of a sudden feels something is wrong. She freezes, and Tano wonders what's wrong. Sherry says that her mind just went blank for some reason. Once they go through an exit, it will be fine. As they're walking through, they approach a strange room with a grotesque blob of flesh behind a set of computers. It is the statue that is worshipped by the cult, and it has been here for hundreds of years, or maybe even longer. Looking at the scent through is enough to trigger anyone's nausea. It's not regular, it's made of flesh. Sherry reveals that this is actually a terror manufacturing device. Tano is surprised to learn that the statue is a supernatural, cursed item. When electricity flows through it, it produces terrors. Tano can't believe something like that exists. Instead of forming naturally, they have their own terror-forming sweatshop. Terrors are managed by the system. Humans can actually construct the terror. It uses this item and electricity to create them, but there are only a few restrictions. It can only create terrors that already exist on the web. It's quite dangerous. The statue was sealed away for a long time, and during the Showa era, lightning struck the statue, causing terror. And that's how the current leader decided to make use of it to create more. Tano is surprised to learn that it's man-made. She tells Sherry to go ahead, she needs some stuff to take care of. She can wrap her head around the whole concept of creating curses. Do they even have any idea how many people die because of them? She wonders if she should smash it. She notices a couple of copies of a monkey story lying on the ground. It's about a little monkey that was separated from its owner. The The pet is only a pet when it has an owner, and separated it loses its identity and vanishes. For some reason it reminds her of Hisaruki. Kuchi-sake arrives in her mind as well. Sherry asks what she is doing. Tano wheels around asking why the hell is she being so creepy, but she looks at Sherry going through an identity crisis. She wonders what's wrong, and Sherry yells that she touched it. She must not touch the god. Her other self will come out, and she doesn't want to kill Tano. All of a sudden her body language changes. It turns out she's been hypnotized to eliminate anyone who approaches the god. Tano quickly wears away, asking what part of the thing is god. She desperately tells Tano to run away no matter what, as her entire aura shifts into that of a murderer. She runs after Tano, promising to eliminate her for insulting their god. Tano cannot believe that Sherry has split personality disorder. She's quite dangerous with a few loose screws. They arrive at a crossroad, and Sherry tells her to let her kill her. Tano, on the other hand, asks if she's forgotten that she is a terror, and Tano is a storyteller, but she just laughs. A storyteller without a terror is only an ordinary person. Tano angrily remembers telling Hisaruki to stick by her no matter what. With tearful eyes, she calls out to Hisaruki, but only silence greets her. She looks around asking why he is not coming by. Sherry just laughs. He can't since he's gone. She can't believe that her trusty partner is gone. She's in severe denial, wondering if the monkey is snoozing somewhere. Sherry tells Tano that Hisaruki was eliminated by their attack. It's confirmed in the reports by the subordinates. She still can't believe it. It must be a stupid lie. Sherry tells Tano not to cry anymore. She swings her sword, but surprisingly it strikes through the crossroads of the bridge, crushing it immediately. Sei and Kuchi-sake look at it from afar, realizing that the situation is spiraling out of control. Sherry starts screaming as the entire building starts to collapse. It snapped. The cult symbol. Tano looks at the broken girl in horror, asking what's happening, but Sherry looks at her with a murderous glint in her eyes. This is all her fault. She's going to kill her if it's the last thing she does. She's about to stab her, but someone grabs Tano's arm and drags her away. She curses, asking who the hell is it that's trying to save her. It turns out it's Sei's father. She wonders why he is saving her when they're on opposite sides. It turns out he doesn't care about the fanatics. His relationship with the cult is merely exploitation. It's a mature relationship, but the relationship is over. Sei and Kuchi-sake are bound to destroy everything. Tano angrily grumbles, asking the old man to turn up his phone. They need to talk with Sei. He wonders where her surface-level politeness goes, but she's had enough of the charade. She calls Sei, revealing what happened. He's glad that she's okay, though she was naked for a bit, and he missed out on that. He's already out and heading inside, and Tano is glad that Kuchi-sake is fine. Kuchi-sake smiles. She gets her scythe ready, innocently asking if it's okay if they destroy the whole building. Suritradalade is puzzled by how innocently she can say that. In a single swing, she crushes the entire building, leveling it, crushing that god-awful lab. Everyone runs away, and how anticlimactic. Tano wonders. They took everything they wanted. Sherry is left there, broken and bruised. Tano asks the old man if it's okay, for everything has fallen apart, and with that his life mission as well. The statue is an activation device, and the cult is a vessel for creating a god. Kamashibai is their end goal now, isn't it? So there's no point in hiding it anymore. They are creating man-made terrors. There are recent rumors on the web about Kamashibai, the urban legend that the stories actually talk about. There was an ostracized event by the cult where they created stories that brought misfortune to those who heard them. After presenting the stories as Kamashibai, they made the listeners experience the same misfortune. The witnesses should have spread the rumors about it, and of course those acts were done only when innocent bystanders were sure to witness them. That's what happens with the twins. Tunno yells that they are really brainwashing civilians to give them enough brain power to create that god. The old man smiles. It's Meraki's policy. Since Minoru took over as the chief priest, the cult has basically become a criminal organization. They started creating false tales of terrors, stories where the terrors would spring into reality. She turns pale, finally understanding the reality between the cult, the statue, and the stories. By pouring the power of the collected terrors into it, Kamashibai was activated as an actual existing terror. Tano freezes, realizing that her beloved Hisaruki is really no longer here. Sei finally arrives face to face with Raki, so she is the evil overlord of the organization. But where is the cult building? It's in ruins right now. Raki just smiles, telling Sei that an evil lord doesn't need a cult or followers to exist, as long as there is a god to worship. Kuchi-sake feels something is off and clings to Sei. Tano yells, asking the old man to lend his phone again. There is no way such a cheat-like terror that makes predictions a reality could exist, but here they are. She has created her own terror. Kamashibai, a little girl with numerous shadows trailing behind her, each one shaped like a dragon or a curse. Sei looks at Raki and the little girl in horror, realizing that things have turned into the worst possible scenario. Raki just smiles, telling Kamashibai to go get him like a good girl. The little girl smiles innocently, even though she holds the power to erase everything in existence. Sei quickly calls Kyogoku, asking what's up. She yells that the thing is dangerous. Her ability is absolutely broken. She can basically turn fiction into reality. Made-up stories can actually happen. A terror that can make him disappear if it says so. Sei realizes that Hisaruki was erased the same way. He's visibly shaken, looking at the girl in a whole new light, but the girl just sits on the ground smiling and wriggling. Sei and Kuchi-sake look at her, wondering if she really fell asleep. Rocky gently walks up to Kamishibai, telling her to wake up. She tells Sei that it's a difficult trial to handle. She smiles, telling Kamishibai it's playtime, and the little girl smiles and wakes up, dancing. She starts telling her stories about the dance of a wild gorilla, going back into the wild. Sei and Kuchi-sake are taken aback by her approach to controlling the little innocent spirit. She then starts filling Kamishibai's head with stories. She had to explain everything in the form of stories. That's how she got her to erase Hisaruki. Up until now, the creation of her abilities was dependent on the followers, but now Kamishibai has finally awakened herself, and she erased Hisaruki on her own. She's convinced that the child is the terror she planned for. She smiles proudly, looking at Kamishibai, telling her to act on the instincts of a terror, and if she's hungry, she should help herself. The little girl immediately looks at Kuchi-sake. Raki smiles, asking Kamishibai if she wants to have a bite. She should send those trees flying towards them, and Kamishibai obeys, uprooting tall trees from around them and shooting them towards Kuchi-sake. Kuchi-sake uses her sky to cleave them in half. Sei curses, "It's ridiculous finding this thing." Raki just laughs. Didn't he seem enthusiastic 5 minutes ago? Now he should retire as a storyteller and leave Kuchi-sake. Kamishibai smiles and gently pats her head. A dark T-Rex emerges from the girl, shooting towards Kuchi-sake and engulfing her. She continues to intensify, and the little girl seems conflicted, but surprisingly Kuchi-sake perseveres. It looks like her power hasn't matured to that level yet. Subai yells at Kuchi-sake to knock them out, and she immediately throws away the darkness. Kamishibai, on the other hand, looks like a kid who has wet the bed. She tells the little kid to hold on, even if she's hungry, or else she'll turn into a Pullefton. She tells Rocky this is the end of the road for her, and her perverted ambitions. Kyogoku wonders if it's a victory, but something is bothering her. A guy who pulls tricks like that shouldn't miscalculate the strength of the Oni. She turns to the old man, telling him to spill the beans on everything he knows about Kamishibai. The old man wonders where her politeness went. She grunts and decides to look for it herself. First up, Hisaruki was really powerful as it devoured the station terror. But if Kyogoku came here, that means that he got the video she recorded and brought it back to Sei. Because of that, he had to fight while Kamishibai was unstable, and if he had been erased earlier, the situation would have been avoided. In other words, terrors can be erased. However, for powerful terror, certain conditions must be met. She asks the old man if she's spot on, and he laughs. She really is a clever one. She asks for the conditions to reveal how to defeat Kamishibai, and the man laughs. He tells Kyogoku that she was naked in the cell, and he touched her. Tears pool around her eyes. She didn't take this man for a dirty old pervert. When she was trapped in the cell, he felt everything and even rubbed against her with his face. She calls him a scumbag, but he explains that's Kamishibai, and that's the condition. When Kamishibai makes contact with the storyteller, that's the condition for the terror to disappear. The tables have turned, and the only winning chance they have is to keep Sidi away from Kamishibai. Kuchi-sake rushes toward the duo, ready to beat them and knock some sense into them, but Ruka just smiles. Rocky tells them that the ground beneath them is open, and Kamishibai immediately obliges as the ground fissures. Kamishibai will make Kuchi-sake disappear if she manages to touch Sei. Rono pleads with the old man to give her his phone so that she can warn her idiot friend, but the old man refuses. He cannot allow her to interfere any further, for he needs Sei to lose this fight. Rono wonders what she is hearing. The old man wants her friend to die. Sei and Kuchi-sake sit next to each other as Rocky wonders if they have had enough. Sei wonders just what in the world she is after. She should stop already, because she will never defeat Kuchi-sake. Rocky wonders why he is so noisy when he is supposed to be groveling beneath her boots. She asks Kamishibai to take away the air surrounding them and make them suffocate. Subai freezes in horror, and poor little Kamishibai looks at her cluelessly. That order is too complex for her to understand. The command cannot be carried out because the terror cannot process something that complicated. Kuchi-sake zooms toward Rocky, ready to knock her out and render them powerless, but Rocky tells Kamishibai that it is time to go together. They teleport far away from her strike. At this point, they are using teleportation and cheats. Rocky continuously praises Kamishibai for being a good little girl. She then asks the curse to hurl stones at Kuchi-sake and keep throwing them forever. Subai realizes that they are completely abusing cheats at this point. Rocky tells Kamishibai to keep hurling stones at them continuously. Kuchi-sake keeps hitting each one with surgical precision, and Rocky is annoyed. She is amazed by how they are batting away the stones even though each one packs the power of a bullet. They start thinking about their next plan, and Sei wonders why Rocky is trying to use such strong terror while still trying to steal Kuchi-sake's powers. What will she gain by creating a god? Rocky apologizes sarcastically and asks a question. Why does Sei fight so hard? Sai reveals that he just wants to live a normal life, with days passing uneventfully and no conflicts ruining their lives. Rocky just smiles. A normal life is a petty thing. Maybe it is because his family fell apart, and his ordinary life was nothing more than a fantasy. He has lived his life regretting everything. Rocky says she is the complete opposite. She was born into a grand shrine, and ever since her father died, she has been the evil god of the organization. She lived her days as the leader, even revamping the shrine into a modern building and turning it into a corporate hellhole. She even created the statue to create terrors, and there is nothing she cannot do with Kamishibai's powers. She can continue forever. Seiya is furious when she tells him that she will not lose anything like Seiya did. Seiya says he does not care about himself anymore. What matters is the power Kamishibai wields. She does not realize the sacrifices that were made to obtain that power. Rocky wonders why he is yapping like a shonen MC. Tsubai yells that he is talking about all the wonderful terrors that were devoured to create this abomination. They were created for her convenience. They were forced to fight each other in terror at night, and in the end, none of them could be saved. He cannot remember them as monsters anymore. Maybe she is the real monster. That is just the kind of person she is, and it makes him want to crush her skull and her ambitions together. He yells at Kuchi-sake to swing her axe harder than ever, to slash through her ambition and the air surrounding them. Rocky just smiles, telling her that it is useless. The attack will never reach them. She will dodge it with teleportation. Kuchi-sake still keeps swinging her axe over and over again, until it starts crackling with lightning. A tempest forms around them. Even Kyugoku is surprised by the sheer magnitude of the storm. It feels as if Thor himself is standing in the middle of it all. The ridiculous amount of power that has been drawn out exists because of Sai, her storyteller. Through the lightning and hail, the battlefield explodes with power, and Rocky is finally sent flying. Sai and Kuchi-sake corner Rocky, telling her that it is the end of the road for her and her ambitions. One thing is for certain, he has something important to protect, and he has not lost everything yet. Seeing them smile and gloat is enough to send Rocky into a bad mood. She smiles sadistically, saying that they are completely different. Sei views terrors as humans while she sees them as tools to gain power, and that is why she can do this. She suddenly pushes Kamishibai down a cliff. Sei reaches out, being the kind-hearted fool that he is, but the moment they make contact, time seems to freeze. Rocky smiles. He actually touched her. Immediately, Kuchi-sake starts to crack and fissure. Sei looks at Kuchi-sake, frozen in despair and terror. She drops her scythe and it starts to evaporate. Rocky smiles because she was born for this moment. Kuchi-sake yells in horror as the entire fabric of her being is unraveled, shooting darkness around Sei and swallowing everything in an abyss. Sei is suddenly teleported to a green grassy meadow. He looks around and wonders where he is. He sees a man standing before Kuchi-sake, ready to take her out of town after taking a picture. The scenery shows the terrifying night he saw in his dream, and the man looks like his grandpa. Kuchi-sake shyly asks the old man to show her the photo, and wonders if it turned out nicely. The man tells her not to smile because this is just a simple photo. He also tells Kuchi-sake that as the cursed monster that harms people, he will put her to rest, but only after he uses her to deal with other monsters. Kuchi-sake looks away in sadness, and Sei wants to smack his grandpa upside the head, but it is a lucid dream, and he cannot do anything. He realizes he is watching the Showa era's Terror Night through her eyes. He sees Kuchi-sake throwing hands with another monster, devouring it, and sucking up its essence while his grandfather writes notes about her performance. He tells her to move on to the next one. Kuchi-sake feels herself slipping. She tries to pull it together, but internally she is crying. Seifi can feel it. He wants to yell at his grandpa for using a little girl like that. A young boy calls his grandpa and asks if he can come visit him, but the man refuses because work is busy and he is not sure when he will come by. Seifi realizes that the boy on the phone is his father, pleading with his grandfather to come back for Christmas, or else he will be a liar, and he will not care anymore. The man is conflicted because his son will be a middle schooler next year, but he does not need to know about the monsters and how they devour each other. As long as he is the one being hated, it is enough. He then looks at Kuchi-sake eating alone. She looks a little older than his son, and he wonders if this monster might also feel loneliness. Later, inside a building, some curses are gathered together, wondering if there is a way to survive without devouring each other. Tsubai realizes he has seen all of them before. A kind-looking woman looks at a young girl and asks if she wants to step away from the terrifying night. Another one teases that she is finally in the mood for a feast, and that the little girl is looking like a snack. The young girl smiles. She says she really does not want to be caught before she finds a storyteller, because she has no way to survive otherwise. Can they not just get along, or can they not just play together? Otherwise, it is too sad. The other curses agree. After all, they are sisters, and they should not fight each other. Just then, Kuchi-sake arrives. She is looking pale, and her face is split open. Everyone has a bad feeling about it. The little girl rushes toward Kuchi-sake and asks if she is ready to answer her question. But suddenly, Kuchi-sake asks if she is beautiful. Is she hated because she is ugly, or should she act like the monster she is? The others wonder what she is talking about as her body starts morphing. The monster version of her is needed here, and if she kills more, maybe he will be kind to her. With a single strike, she ends the little girl's existence, and the entire group is wiped out and absorbed by Kuchi-sake. Sei feels horrible for what she went through. Day in and day out she battled curses, forced by his grandfather to capture every last one until she could become a cursed god. She was overflowing with energy and sadness at the same time. As the power swirling around her starts to intensify, she screams in rage, and Grandpa can't control it anymore. At this level, the whole area will be erased. Is this how the Terror Night is supposed to end? But all of a sudden the burst of energy stops. C, who's floating around them, moves closer to see how Grandpa took control of the situation, but in reality, he didn't have any control. He just stabbed himself to put an end to the Terror Night. Kuchi-sake is left crying, wondering if it's her fault, and Grandpa sacrificed himself to stop Kuchi-sake. Somehow he managed to stop it midway, but through raspy breath he apologized. He thought that she was a monster to be feared, that brought death and carnage, but she was the most human out of the two, and maybe he was the one who turned her into a monster. With his dying breath he wondered why couldn't they live together. He also apologizes to his son. He can't make it home. Subai screams to the heavens that he can't accept this kind of ending, sacrificing everything and losing it all without gaining anything. Why couldn't his grandpa protect anything? He is teleported to the present, thanks to the statue of the shrine. Too much time has passed, and her memories are lost. He then looks at the first day they met each other. Subai smiles, and the memories come flooding into his mind. They were her core memories, and they told her that she is not a monster of terror, but his precious little Kuchi-sake. Presently Kuchi-sake smiles, thanking him for saving her. Because of him she was happy till the very end. She then bursts into a violent cloud of darkness. Kyogoku yells at Kuchi-sake not to go away. Rocky just smiles. Incredible. It's time for a feast for her little godling. Her little god starts sucking up the essence, and thus Terror Night is concluded. A new cursed god is being born. The god who will move according to Rocky's word. She has gained power equal to that of a god, even though she is a human pretending to be a god. But now a divine puppet show is about to start. She smiles as her terror is now fully grown. Suai wallows in despair in front of her. Rocky laughs hysterically, for she has become the storyteller of a god. Do they even understand the meaning of it? She commands the power wielded by a reality walker, and her words are absolute now. The world's religion is her own tongue, and the one who speaks for God is she. Sei wonders if she is going through a brain aneurysm, riding on her high horse. She thanks Sei for nurturing Kuchi-sake so well, and now that she has vanished, there is no one left to challenge Kami-Shibai. Sei refuses to believe that she has vanished. She is still here, and he refuses to lose her again. Rocky just laughs and looks at Kami-Shibai. Earlier he created something like a tornado, now didn't he? She decides to show him how to do it properly. She asks Kami-Shibai to manipulate the atmosphere, and this time instead of looking at her stupidly and cutely, she starts going off the rails. Creating a vortex is boring, so she decides to create a vacuum that will sweep everything around them. Using advanced calculus, she creates a vacuum so powerful that it sucks everything around it. Rocky asks how it feels to face the true god. She is already surprised by the power of Kuchi-sake, and this is now her own power. Sei grits his teeth. That power is the beginning of the end. The old man yells that the power of terror could never be something that humanity could handle. He always wanted to see how a terror night would end. Kyogoku asks if she is missing something. The old man explains that it was recorded in his father's journal. His father conquered the terror night and reached its ending, but the journal ended there, and his father never returned. Kyogoku realizes that this evil bastard deliberately recreated Terror Night to see what would happen after this phase. Sure enough, Kami-Shibai gently touches Rocky, her face morphing into that of a disgusting old lady until it's just a blazing skull full of circuits. She engulfs Rocky. Kyogoku yells what the hell is going on. She won't die, and she has only been absolved. If the storyteller dies, the terror disappears. Now that they have become one, no one can stop them. Kami-Shibai shrieks horribly. Each roar sends shockwaves through the land and creaking craters. Kyogoku asks Sei to hang on as numerous tornadoes sweep across the land. The old man loses it, for this is the final scene before destruction, the scene his father saw. Kyogoku asks the old man to stop it somehow. Can't they just kill Rocky, who is still inside that thing? She asks the old man for an answer, but the old man is frozen in place, too fixated on his daddy issues. Kyogoku can't do anything about it anymore, but she looks at Sei standing there in defiance. He's still alive and well, and by some coincidence gathering his energy around the palm of his hand. They both look at him in surprise as Sei wonders if everyone can see it, the tendril of light circling around him, the power Kuchi-sake left behind. And still she cringes to him, and together he's going to bring this horrible night to an end. The entire world is torn apart by tornadoes, as the skull of death hangs over Seibi. Seibi asks Kuchi-sake to lend him her strength. It's time to tear this phony god of terror to shreds. A bright burst of light circles around him, coagulating into a Damascus steel sword. Everyone is looking at him in surprise. That's the power Kuchi-sake holds, but how can it be? For she has already been consumed. It turns out Kami Shibai can only suck up negative emotions, terror and resentment. It is a crystallization of human fear, grudges and curses, but anything that is not part of that negativity cannot be absorbed. He finally understands. She is not a monster anymore, and there's no way she would entirely be absorbed. The residual power she held is now in the hands of Sei, who is ready to cut through the darkness with his saber of light. With a single swing, he tears through the skull, revealing Rocky. He asks Rocky how she is still intact, but the darkness clings to her, circling around her and enveloping her in an armor of darkness. She proclaims herself as God, ready to bring judgment on them. Sei tells her to stop. Her mortal body is not able to handle that power. Sure enough, her eyes are bursting open with darkness, bleeding. She vows to erase them and reshape the world into something worthy of her. Subai tells her to shut her trap hole. The world is not at fault, she is. She just wants everyone to worship her, understand her worth, for she is the savior who will guide the world. Subai wonders why Rocky has such a god complex, as she continues to yap about how no one appreciates her, and the weaklings surrounding her don't know how to worship her properly. She will make sure the world knows her story. Subai wonders why she did not have anyone by her side then. For a god, she sure is lonely, but he'll save her. He zooms past the deranged woman, trying to imitate his fellow's movements. He then blasts her with a strike of light. The old man wonders if it's over, but it turns out it's not. She is a sore loser to the bitter end, as she creates a burst of light. The old man wonders what's going on. Turns out Rocky is trying to destroy everything since she couldn't rule. She is going through complex formulas, and has decided to nuke the world so that it can face divine judgment. Everything starts to fissure, and Rocky laughs before being vaporized. Kyogoku is also falling to her bitter end, but something catches her. A being of light gently puts her down. It's Hizaruki, or what remains of him. She then zooms towards Sei's sword, and all of the fallen terrors also arrive. The twins, Miki and Terror Mommy. Subai looks at all of the pure terrors, holding off the nuclear explosion, trying their best to fend it off. He feels their presence and realizes they were anything but monsters. They had the most humanity out of all of them. He then grabs his blade and asks Kuchi-sake to lend her strength for the last time. He zooms towards the ball of nuclear energy and shears through them, cutting through and letting all the terrors finally be free. Kyogoku can't believe that he really did it. His saber of light also starts vaporizing as all of the terrors smile, leaving for the other world. He also looks at Kuchi-sake smiling beautifully, perhaps for the last time in his life. He thanks her for saving him. He looks at the stars shining beautifully against the night sky. He is the one who was saved in the end. Later, Nanomi asks if they can walk together from home to school. Sabi agrees that that's fine, and Nanomi smiles. They are finally together. In the end, he couldn't avoid getting back together, but our boy is not interested. He has plans and has places to be. As soon as he gets out of school, he meets up with Kyogoku. Kyogoku asks if he's headed home. He wonders why she's acting like a delinquent. They walk together, and it's been a while, but he's moving on. Kyogoku is leaving the rundown apartment, and Sei is also moving. Kyogoku's father, who was never around, came back and they're starting to live together. And apparently he was living at a place far away. She's going to live with them, and she's done with all of the stupid occult research. She's going to school and is going to become a lawyer. Sei is surprised. How can a delinquent be a lawyer? And Kyogoku yells, asking him to shut up, or else she will show why she's called a delinquent. He just hates injustice, and that's why she wants to be a lawyer. Sei smiles and thinks about his own father, wondering where he is and what he is doing. The scumbag is kneeling in front of his own father's grave, wondering why he had to leave him behind. Maybe because he wanted to protect him. Tears flow from his eyes as he calls out to his dad. Subai arrives at his apartment, and his sis is asking why he is late. He should hurry up and pack his stuff. He should be grateful that they're moving to a tower apartment. He doesn't get it, but apparently his sister's occult videos went viral, and now she's a streamer making over $1,000,000 a month. He looks at his old room and feels a pang of sadness. It's too bad Kuchi-sake is not here. Hearing her name is enough to send his sister crying her eyes out. She will always live in their hearts no matter what. Later they start moving, and he can't believe any occult theories anymore. He doesn't want to buy into the terror story. The only thing he knows is that he'll believe it if he sees it. He was a black-haired girl with a coat, and she turned out to have pink hair and girly clothes. They called her a monster, but she was just a regular girl who loved fun. They said she brought death, but she was the one who saved him, and she hasn't appeared ever since. But he can feel it. He can feel her following him, asking if she's pretty.